Chapter 1022. Chu Moli raised his head. His face had already regained its usual indifferent expression. It's nothing, I just watched a good show. The little junior sister that our master brought back this time is very interesting. Little junior sister is very good. Qin Jiu nodded heavily. Everyone likes little junior sister. The sun was setting in the west. The group of people from the Xiaoyao school finally gathered at the entrance of the market. Everyone was carrying big and small bags in their hands, and their faces were beaming with happiness. Even the steady eldest senior brother was smiling from time to time as he looked at the food and speed-increasing spirit tools in his hands, revealing a steady smile from time to time. Sixth senior sister, look, this is the doll that I bought, isn't it cute? Luo Yu excitedly rushed towards Mu Yan, wanting to show the doll in her hands to Mu Yan. Unfortunately, before he could reach it, Mu Yan was pulled to the other side by Ling Yuxing. Ling Yuxing, who was already dressed up beautifully, glared at Luo Yu with a face full of disgust. What kind of doll is this? That's something that only children like. Little junior sister, and I don't like these. With that, he revealed a flirtatious smile towards Mu Yan. Little junior sister, the cosmetic powder that I just bought is exquisite and glossy. When we return to the sect, I'll help you apply it. Luo Yu was dumbfounded. Fifth senior brother, when did your relationship with sixth senior sister become so good? Ling Yuxing rolled his eyes at her. How could you stinky men understand the friendship between us women? Luo Yu. You're clearly a stinky man. Ling Yuma angrily kicked Ling Yuxing away and snatched Mu Yan over. Do you think I'm dead? In the Xiaoyao school, only little junior sister and I are women. Little junior sister, let me tell you, I bought a lot of weapons and techniques. Tonight, I'll sleep with you and discuss it. Mu Yan face-bombed. Can't you guys stop for a while? Yun Ruhan coughed lightly. Alright, stop messing around. It's getting dark, let's quickly go back. Wait, where's Master? Mu Yan looked around, but didn't find Shi Qing. Ling Yuma waved her hand and said, as long as Master enters the restaurant, he absolutely won't come out until he spends all his crystal stones. Don't worry about him. When the crystal stones run out, he'll naturally come back. Let's go back and ask fifth junior brother to make us a feast. Ling Yuxing snorted coldly. A bunch of stinky men who only know how to eat and drink. Junior sister is still the best. Mu Yan massaged her forehead. Would the Xiaoyao sect ever recover? Could she stay here any longer? Ha! Suddenly, he heard a chuckle. Mayan stares blankly. She lowers her head to look, only to discover that the one laughing is actually her third senior brother, Chu Moli. She stared blankly at Chu Moli's face. This was the first time she had seen her third senior brother smile like this. True, clean, with real pleasure. Unlike before, he wasn't sick and neurotic, as if he was always scheming crazily. Third senior brother, why are you laughing? Chu Moli withdrew his gaze and said indifferently, little junior sister, welcome to the carefree sect. Mu Yan. I've already joined the Xiaoyao sect for a few days, and now you're telling me that you're welcome. As expected, there were no normal disciples in this sect. The people of the Xiaoyao sect went back to the mountain, laughing and chatting. After everyone left, a few figures appeared at the entrance of the market. Chapter 1023. Are those people from the Xiaoyao sect? Look at the big and small bags they are carrying. Is the Xiaoyao sect rich? It's impossible. Who doesn't know that the Xiaoyao sect is the poorest sect in the whole Blue Heaven realm? How could it be rich? Oh, no matter whether they are rich or not, there must be crystals in the Xiaoyao sect now. Let's go back and report it to our master and ask him to collect shelter fees from the Xiaoyao sect. That's right. The Xiaoyao sect is just a lousy sect. It's just a subsidiary of our whole unitary sect. Since they have crystals, how can they not pay tribute? Ha ha ha, let's report this news. Maybe we can get some benefits. They looked at each other and saw the excited and greedy expressions on each other's faces. Then they all flew in the direction of the whole unitary sect. That night, the poor people of the Xiaoyao sect experienced a happy paradise with meat, crystals, and happiness. However, after the happy paradise, Yun Ruhan embarrassingly found Mu Yan. This was because the 500 low-grade crystal stones that Mu Yan had earned with great difficulty had actually been completely spent by them in a single day. Yun Ruhan was so ashamed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Junior sister, take the rest of the crystals for your own use. Don't let others spend them. It's not easy for you to draw talismans. Mu Yan waved her hand indifferently. It's okay. It's easy for me to draw talismans. I'll draw dozens of them tonight and sell them for some crystals. Eldest brother, don't worry. It's easy to earn crystals. Just go and draw a few dozen more. Yun Ruhan's mouth twitched. Holding the crystals in her hand, she really didn't know whether to be happy or depressed. Thinking of their hard days in the past, and then thinking of the talismans that junior sister could draw and earn crystals at will. Yun Ruhan felt that as the eldest brother, she should really find a hole to hide in. Mu Yan didn't understand the eldest brother's depression at all. After returning to her room, she directly entered the space and continued to draw talismans. Just 2 hours later, a thick stack of drawn talismans appeared in her hand. However, to Mu Yan's regret, because of a strange combination of factors, she couldn't draw the third-grade talismans successfully again. Mu Yan always felt that she had faintly seen a certain trick, but she couldn't grasp it. After wasting another 3 talisman papers, she had to give up. After all, the Xiaoyao sect was so poor, and they had to feed a bunch of people who were crying piteously for food. Even talisman paper and cinnabar were not things that could be casually wasted. It was better to draw more first and second grade talismans to earn money first. Qi Huang was lying on the grass at the side, propping up his chin as he watched her draw talismans. From time to time, he would sneer, "It's like drawing talismans. It's not beautiful at all. After drawing so many, you can only draw second-grade talismans. You can't even draw third-grade talismans. Jun Mayan, you're getting dumber. What's so good about drawing this kind of trash talisman? Wait until you master the 4th level Shin musician skills, then you'll naturally be able to draw the most powerful talisman in the world. Jun Mayan, Ben Zun orders you to stop drawing that boring painting, do you hear me?" Mu Yan glances at him coldly. "I see, you miss the itchy zither set meal, right?" Qi Huang's complexion stiffens, and he fiercely glares at Mu Yan, finally no longer nagging. Chapter 1024. When she looks up, she sees that Qi Huang's hands are already folded together, his head resting on them as he falls into a deep sleep. The youngster's long eyelashes hang down, covering that pair of beautiful phoenix eyes. When he's awake, he's clearly such a tsundere, such an explosive person, but when he's asleep, he's like an innocent child. Occasionally, he smacks his lips, muttering, "Jun Mayan, hateful, won't accompany." Ben Zun, Mayan is slightly startled. Seeing the loneliness between his brows, her heart seems to be tugged by something. Qi Huang and the little phoenix are different from the fat rabbit. He's the spirit of the Tian Mo Qin, and he seems to be hiding a huge secret. Therefore, he doesn't dare to easily leave the space, and he doesn't dare to appear in front of people. Mayan doesn't know what he's afraid of, why he doesn't dare to leave the space, and doesn't want to be discovered by anyone. However, she knows how lonely and empty it is for a person to be locked up in this small space. That's why he likes to torment the little phoenix so much. He likes to bicker with her, and attract her attention. It should be because it's really too lonely in this space, right? Mayan sighs softly, and reaches out to push the stray hair on Chi Huang's face to one side. In her mind, she's trying to find something interesting for Chi Huang to do to pass the time. After pondering for a while, he can't resist the drowsiness, and falls into a deep sleep. After Mayan falls asleep, the red-clothed youngster who's sleeping on his stomach slowly opens his eyes. He looks at the girl close at hand, his eyes dark and profound, as if they're precipitating the vicissitudes of life. Muttering, almost soundless whispers overflow from his captivating red lips and teeth, "I can't trust humans. I won't trust humans, even if it's June Mayan, even if it's you." After waking up the next day, Mayan eats breakfast and directly enters Tianguang ruins. She spends a few crystals to have Tianguang ruins clean up and decorate the shop a little. Then, she places the 50 talismans on the shelf. However, even after being on display for 2 hours, not a single person had come to visit them. Mayan isn't too disappointed. She knows how low the popularity of her "lousy is #1 in the world" shop is. There are so many densely packed shops in the lower 3 districts of Tianguang ruins. The chances of someone finding this shop and coming to buy it are too low. After all, it wasn't every day that Signorine Xiao would purchase talismans at a high price. After waiting for another half an hour and seeing that no one had come, Mu Yan was about to leave the Tianguang ruins. A voice rang out in his head. Tianguang ruins lower 3 zones announcement. User Dancing Ice has reached 1,000 popularity points and is allowed to authenticate his real name. Now, the identity of Dancing Bing Ruoxuan will be announced in the lower 3 districts. Dancing Bing Ruoxuan is an inner disciple of the mountain-breaking sect, Lu Ruoxuan. Dancing Bing Ruoxuan is a disciple of the mountain-breaking sect. A rare expression of astonishment appears on Mu Yan's face. It was rumored that the talisman refiner that Masterine Xiao had taken a fancy to was actually Lu Ruoxuan. Should I say that this woman's luck is really too good? Mu Yan frowned and was just about to leave Tianguang ruins when she felt the entire Tianguang ruins suddenly shake. Then, a blinding light shone in the distance. That was the direction of the reincarnation square. What happened? Mayan thinks for a moment, then directly sets up the shop as an automated trading system, and heads towards the reincarnation square. At this moment, the reincarnation square was already packed with people. Chapter 1025. Some of the women even let out stifled screams, and even wanted to pounce on him. As she neared, she heard the crowd's discussion. "So beautiful, such a beautiful child, I've never seen such a delicate and beautiful child. I really want to take him home and raise him. If I had such a beautiful child, I would definitely give him the best of everything in the world. But this child is so cold and violent, those who wanted to approach him have already been thrown out several times. Child. A beautiful child." Mu Yan's heart thumped, and she promptly squeezed through the crowd. What she saw was a small figure, and a pair of deep blue eyes. Mu Yan only felt a loud buzzing in her head, and everything in front of her seemed to have disappeared without a trace. In her mind, only 2 words reverberated like a drum: Xiao Bao, Xiao Bao, Xiao Bao. Her Xiao Bao, how long has it been since she last saw her baby? Xiao Bao. Mu Yan's voice trembled, but she didn't notice it at all. She slowly walked forward, 1 step at a time, as if she was stepping on thorns, but she was walking towards the end of her happiness. "Oh, little girl, don't go near him, you'll be thrown out by that little boy." That's right, although this child is beautiful, he's very violent and savage, and won't let anyone near him. When the crowd saw Mu Yan approaching the boy in the middle of the reincarnation square, they all worriedly admonished her. Just now, when they saw that the little boy was too beautiful, there were too many people who wanted to pounce on him, wanting to touch his face and hug him. But these people didn't even have the time to get within 3 meters of the boy, before they were mercilessly thrown out. Moreover, fighting was clearly prohibited in Tianguang ruins, so they couldn't cause much harm to others. However, the people who were thrown out by the little boy all fell to the ground, unable to get up for a long time. However, Mu Yan seemed to be possessed, and she walked towards the boy step by step, not listening to the crowd's explanation. Many of the people present couldn't bear to look away, because they knew that very soon this young girl would be thrown out, fall to the ground, and wail in pain. However, the next moment, a scene that made everyone's jaws drop appeared. The boy, who clearly had a dazzlingly beautiful face, but his whole body emitted an unapproachable aura. It was the boy who had just taught the person who approached him a lesson. When the girl approached and suddenly hugged him, she didn't throw him away. Instead, it only struggled symbolically for a moment before it obediently nestled in her arms. That delicate little face that could take away a person's breath seemed to soften and become obedient in an instant. His icy blue eyes were flowing with a brilliance that could make heaven and earth shine and even the sun and moon lose their splendor. Why? Why can she carry that child? I'm obviously much better looking than that ugly freak. Sob, sob, sob. You're so cute. I want to hug you too. How can there be such a cute and beautiful child in this world? Ugly monster, let go of that child, let me do it. On the reincarnation square, it was a mess of noise. But these voices seemed to be very far away. In front of Mayan's eyes, in her senses, there is only this small figure in her arms. It was a familiar scent that warmed her heart. Chapter 10:26. Mu Yan's voice was hoarse and trembling, but it was filled with joy. But she didn't notice that the handsome little face of the boy in her arms instantly darkened completely when she said those words. He gritted his teeth and secretly ground them for a long time. After a long time, he took a deep breath and said in a cold tone, "Ben. I'm not your child. I know I am little treasure." At this moment, Mu Yan's reflex arc slows down by half a beat. The words, "not your child," and "not Xiaobao" echoed in his mind over and over again. Then, she suddenly came back to her senses and let go of the boy in her arms. His rationality and thoughts returned to him bit by bit, and the numbness in his body slowly returned as well. A handsome and delicate face of a child appeared in her eyes. This was a little boy who was so beautiful that she didn't know how to describe him. He also had a pair of clear, icy blue eyes. He gave her a sense of familiarity, desire, and intimacy. However, he was definitely not little treasure. The light in Mu Yan's eyes immediately goes dim. The strong impact of regaining what she had lost, and then losing it again made her face turn pale in an instant. In the end, she still could not find her Xiaobao. Even Di Mingju doesn't know where he is. Right now, she was like a lonely duckweed, drifting in this cultivation continent, not knowing when she would be able to find her home. Mayan is in a trance, when suddenly, her hand is caught by a small hand. Then, a soft body with a familiar smell approached her. He clumsily wrapped his arms around her neck. The little boy's face was full of depression and resentment, but when he saw Mu Yan's tearful eyes, he gritted his teeth and said, "I'm not your Xiaobao, but I can accompany you for a while. Don't be sad anymore. This monarch. I guarantee that one day, you will find Xiaobao." Mu Yan is slightly startled. She lowers her head to look at the little boy's grave and stern but delicate little face. At this moment, for some reason, Mu Yan felt that the sense of loss, loneliness, and longing in her heart had been diluted by quite a bit. She couldn't help but chuckle. Little brother, what's your name? Which sect are they from? He looked like he was only 5 years old, the same age as Xiao Bao. But he actually spoke even more maturely than Xiao Bao. How interesting. Moreover, this little boy had an aura that she inexplicably longed to get close to. Even that face and those ice blue eyes gave her an indescribable sense of familiarity. However, when the little boy heard Mu Yen call him little brother, his entire body trembled, and his face darkened to the point that it could drip water. He grits his teeth and looks at Mayan, seemingly wanting to say something. But in the end, he clenched his fists tightly and endured it. I'm Mo Ju. You are not allowed to call me little brother, he said with a cold face. However, Mu Yen couldn't help but laugh out loud again. All right, children don't admit that they're young, I understand. As she spoke, she pinched the little boy's face. Big sister will take you to eat something, okay? Mo Ju ground her teeth in anger. Don't you already know whether I'm young or not? But being held in Mayan's arms, smelling the familiar and bone-deep scent of her, he was reluctant to let go. After struggling for a long time, he finally gives up and puts his arms around Mayan's neck again, letting her carry him. Chapter 10:27. It's just that Mo Ju is too beautiful, too delicate, too adorable. She's even prettier than the immortal children worshipped in the Xinxian temple. It's reasonable to say that the appearances of all the cultivators in Tianguang ruins can be adjusted. But even if so many people have their appearances adjusted, they're still too lacking compared to Mo Ju's natural beauty. Mayan's adjusted appearance is only delicate and pretty. In Tianguang ruins, where beauties are everywhere, she's no different from an ugly monster. Thus, this combination of beauty and ugliness naturally attracts the attention of countless people as they walk through the streets of Tianguang ruins. Mayan, on the other hand, has long been accustomed to being the center of attention. She's simply too lazy to care about other people's opinions. As for Mo Ju, isn't it a matter of course for a mere mortal to look up to her? The two of them don't pay attention to the comments and pointers of the crowd, and go straight into a restaurant. Little Mo, what do you want to eat? Mayan thinks, a child running to Tianguang ruins. She must like the bustling pleasures of Tianguang ruins. For example, the delicacies sold outside at sky-high prices. In Tianguang ruins, they only cost a few dozen low-grade crystals. Of course, such delicacies have no effect in reality. But just tasting it is already a rare enjoyment. Mo Ju doesn't have the slightest intention of being polite. She takes the menu and uses her tender little finger to poke at several of the most expensive dishes. Mayan's mouth twitches, just one of these dishes would cost her all her crystals. Seeing that the waiter is about to take the menu away, Mayan hurriedly says, "Wait a minute." She looks at Mo Ju awkwardly. Little Mo, I don't have that many crystals, I can only treat you to the most ordinary dishes. The waiter, who was originally happily about to place the order, immediately shows a look of contempt. He whispers, "You came to staying immortal restaurant without money. Country bumpkin." Mayan has long been accustomed to the Shuzhen continent looking up to money and power. She doesn't take the waiter's ridicule to heart. Mo Ju's little face turns gloomy in an instant. Those ice blue eyes suddenly look at the waiter. Her small hand has already fished out a crystal from who knows where, and she slaps it on the table. What did you just say? When the waiter met Mo Ju's icy blue eyes, he shuddered. An inexplicable fear nearly caused him to kneel on the ground. Then, he looked at the crystal on the table, and his eyes almost popped out. SSS high-grade crystals. His voice suddenly rose, almost breaking through the clouds. That was a top-grade crystal stone. One piece was worth 1,000 mid-grade crystals or 1,000,000 low-grade crystals. Although it could be exchanged, the value of a middle-grade crystal stone far exceeded that of a low-grade crystal stone, and the value of a high-grade crystal stone far exceeded that of a middle-grade crystal stone. It was not something that could be exchanged with a simple exchange rate of 1 to 1,000. This was only the lower of 3 districts of Tianguang ruins. Not to mention high-grade crystals, even mid-grade crystals were hard to come by. The waiter's voice instantly attracted the other people in the Staying Immortal restaurant. Even the shopkeeper hurried over. Seeing that piece of high-grade crystal stone on the table, their eyes were glued to it. Mo Ju coldly stood up and put away the high-grade crystal. Holding Mu Yan's hand, she said, "What's so good about this kind of snobbish restaurant? Let's go to another restaurant." Mu Yan was amused by the way he acted like a little adult, and let him lead her away. At the same time, she was somewhat shocked. Chapter 1028. A piece of high-grade crystal, oh. How many talismans did she have to sell to earn it back? If the people of the Xiaoyao sect saw a piece of high-grade crystal, wouldn't they go crazy with joy? The shopkeeper of Lucien restaurant only came back to his senses when Mo Ju pulled Mu Yan up. Customer. Please don't go, it was our waiter's fault just now. Please don't lower yourself to his level. The shopkeeper had someone stop Mu Yan as he slapped the waiter's face. I've told you to be tactful in treating guests. Tactful, what have you learned? From tomorrow onwards, you don't have to come to Lucien restaurant. Shopkeeper, don't. I know I was wrong, I apologize to this customer. The waiter said as he knelt down in front of Mu Yan. In fact, the waiter just called her a country bumpkin, and Mu Yan was too lazy to care about it. She was about to open her mouth to tell the waiter to get up. Suddenly, she heard a familiar soft voice, "Miss, I don't know what wrong this waiter has done, that you want to punish him like this. But I want to say, even a waiter has his dignity. He can kneel to heaven, to earth, and to his parents, but he can't casually kneel to others. Don't you think it's too much to make him kneel and beg for mercy? Damn, this Lu Ruoxuan is really haunting me." Mu Yan looked up and saw Lu Ruoxuan leisurely walking into Lucien restaurant with her appearance changed. Above her head, there were 4 shining silver words, Bing Ruo Xian Wu. This was a special treatment that only Tianguang Ruins certified cultivators could receive. Of course, some people would choose to hide, but most people would show themselves to show their status. Bing Ruo Xian Wu, why have you come to our restaurant? The shopkeeper immediately greeted her with flattery, you really bring light to our humble restaurant. Lu Ruoxuan smiled softly and said, Shopkeeper, no matter what wrong that waiter has done, can you give me face and let him go? It's never good to force someone into a hopeless situation. When the waiter heard this, he immediately kowtowed to Lu Ruoxuan in tears, Fairy Xuanwu, you are truly as kind as a bodhisattva. I can die without regrets now that I was able to meet you and plead on your behalf. The surrounding guests also praised Lu Ruoxuan for her beauty and kindness. As a comparison, Mu Yan naturally had an ordinary appearance, but she had a heart of stone, which made people despise her. The innkeeper said straightforwardly, since it is Fairy Xianwu who is pleading for me, I will naturally accept her request. There are too few people in this world who are as kind and reasonable as you, Fairy Xianwu. Some people think highly of themselves just because they have a few crystals, and they flaunt their prowess. If we encounter them, we can only blame it on our bad luck. Fairy Xuanwu is so kind, and she's so talented. He's already an inner disciple of the heaven-breaking sect at such a young age, and he even caught the eye of Master Yin Xiu. Compared to them, this little boy is quite pretty, but this girl's appearance is just barely passable. Could it be that she didn't change her appearance? She must have altered her appearance. That's all there is to it. In real life, she must be an ugly monster. Lu Ruoxuan listened to everyone's heartfelt praise and flattery, and then compared it with everyone's belittling of Mu Yen. Her heart seemed to have drunk honey, and it felt light. She swept her gaze over Mu Yen, and then unconsciously lowered it. In fact, she didn't know this girl. Chapter 1029. Even before Mayan appeared, she had tried in vain to get close to the boy, who didn't seem like a mortal. But the boy's cold and disgusted stare frightened her into retreating. Later, Mayan appeared and carried the boy away. Lu Ruoxuan's heart was filled with a faint jealousy and dislike towards this young girl. It was the same feeling she had when she first met Mayan in Heavenly Fragrance House. She had a faint intuition that this woman would steal her glory, so she disliked her from the bottom of her heart. Thus, when she heard the dispute between Mayan and the waiter, Lu Ruoxuan came in to mediate. And it was just as she expected. These days, she had accumulated a lot of prestige due to Yin Xiu's favor, coupled with her kind behavior. Everyone praised her and chased after her, but they didn't spare the young girl a glance. Lu Ruoxuan's gaze then fell on Mo Ju. Her eyes flashed with a touch of amazement and fondness. She took a step forward, bowed slightly, and revealed an incomparably kind smile. "Little brother, which family are you from? You came out alone, and you can't casually go with strangers, understand? There are bad people in this world, and they will deceive and use you. You're still young, so you can't see clearly. How about I take you to your parents?" Mo Ju looked at her coldly. Those deep blue eyes looked like ice shards were about to fall out. Until Lu Ruoxuan finished speaking, he once again revealed a soft and gentle smile. His thin lips parted, coldly spitting out a few words, "Ugly freak, scram." Lu Ruoxuan's body suddenly stiffened, almost unable to believe her ears. Everyone in Staying Immortal Restaurant also heard the boy's words, and for a long time, they couldn't come back to their senses. This boy actually called Lu Ruoxuan ugly, and even told her to scram. This was the mountain-breaking sex disciple that Master Yin Xiu fancied, Lu Ruoxuan ah. Mo Ju didn't care about the crowd's reaction. She pulled Mayan, her face full of disgust. "Let's go, stay away from this disgusting woman." If it wasn't for the fact that fighting was prohibited in Tianguang ruins, and that spiritual power couldn't be used at will, he would have long crushed this disgusting woman into dregs. Mo Ju pulled Mu Yen to the door, but suddenly stopped and turned around. His cold and mocking gaze swept towards the shopkeeper and the waiter. His lips slowly curled up, revealing an evil and cold smile. "The weather is getting cold. It's time for the Celestial Retaining Restaurant to change owners." With that, Mo Ju dragged Mu Yen away. The rest of the people from the Staying Immortal Restaurant looked at each other in confusion. What did that little boy mean by his last sentence? But soon, they threw this matter to the back of their minds. The shopkeeper politely invited Lu Ruoxuan to sit down and eat. Although he also coveted the high-grade crystal stones in the little boy's hands. But he also clearly knew that even if he ordered all the dishes in the Staying Immortal Restaurant, it would not be worth 1,000th of a top-grade crystal. Since he couldn't obtain the high-grade crystal stones, he might as well try to curry favor with Lu Ruoxuan, the mountain-breaking sex disciple. However, Lu Ruoxuan was only halfway through her meal. A few ferocious-looking strong men rushed in. The shopkeeper hurriedly went forward to greet them. "Dear customers, may I know what you want?" Chapter 1030. WH. What? The shopkeeper was dumbfounded. How is this possible? The Staying Immortal Restaurant has so many customers every day, why does the boss want to sell it? The burly man sneered. The other party offered 100 times the price, do you think the boss will sell it? And the other party also said that the Staying Immortal Restaurant will still be the Staying Immortal Restaurant in the future, and the boss will still be running it. The only condition is to chase all of you snobs out. Tell me, you're the boss, do you agree or not? The shopkeeper and the waiters who had just been fawning over Lu Ruoxuan all swayed, their faces pale and they almost fainted. The income of the Staying Immortal restaurant was extremely good. Moreover, it was only in Tianguang ruins, and they could just come to work at night when they were sleeping, and it wouldn't affect their real affairs at all. It could be said that this job was everyone's dream. But now, in the blink of an eye, this job was lost. The cold and evil smile on the face of the little boy before he left suddenly appeared in front of the shopkeeper's eyes. And that clear and crisp voice of a child, but arrogant words, "The weather is cold, this Staying Immortal restaurant should change owners." The shopkeeper only felt a roar in his head, and he couldn't hold on any longer, falling to the ground with a thud. He was so angry that he couldn't speak or move. But he was still clear-headed, looking at Lu Ruoxuan with resentment. It's all this woman's fault, it's all this woman's fault. He clearly didn't intend to offend that little boy and that young girl from the start. But because this woman suddenly came in to plead for him, he only wanted to curry favor with her. Now, everything was over for him now. The waiter who was begged by Lu Ruoxuan just now still had hope. He crawled in front of Lu Ruoxuan and begged, "Miss Ming Wu, please help me, I can't lose this job. Please help me." Lu Ruoxuan was also flustered, and didn't care about eating anymore. She looked at the burly man. What exactly is going on? The Staying Immortal restaurant is doing well, why do you want to change the shopkeeper? The brawny man glanced at the words, Bing Ruo Xian Wu, above her head and sneered, "So you're Bing Ruo Xian Wu. Just nice, our new boss has instructed us. In the future, Celestial Retaining Restaurant, other than these snobbish servants, a disgusting woman called Bing Ruo Meng Wu is also not allowed to take a single step inside. Men, drag all of these people out. Throw them far away, lest they dirty our restaurant. As for the others..." The burly man's gaze swept over the other customers. "Today, Lu Xian restaurant is temporarily closed. If you want to taste the delicacies, please come early tomorrow." The customers who were tempted to make a move and wanted to plead for leniency immediately retracted their feet when they saw the intimidating gaze of the strong man. Lu Ruoxuan was dragged out of the Staying Immortal restaurant and fell on her butt, unable to react for a long time. When she came into contact with the curious gazes of the passers-by, her face flushed with shame and indignation. She wished she could find a hole to hide in. But unfortunately, the words, "icy sacred dance," above her head was equivalent to clearly telling others that she was Lu Ruoxuan. Lu Ruoxuan suddenly stood up, wanting to escape back to the earth-shattering, sky-shocking shop. Of course she could leave Tianguang ruins here. But the next time she came up, she would be in the same place again. At that time, she might have to accept the ridicule and onlookers of the surrounding people. Chapter 1031. However, before Lu Ruoxuan could run more than a few steps, someone suddenly bumps into her and grabs her clothes. "You compensate me for my job. You compensate me for my Staying Immortal restaurant's shopkeeper position." The original shopkeeper of Staying Immortal restaurant glares at Lu Ruoxuan with bloodshot eyes, as if he wants to tear her apart. Even the waiters gather around and start arguing with Lu Ruoxuan, compensate for the crystal stones. "If it weren't for you meddling in other people's business, we wouldn't have lost our jobs. You must compensate us with the crystal stones." Lu Ruoxuan's face turns pale with fright, even her clothes are torn by them. In the end, she can only take out all the crystal stones in her warehouse and compensate them before covering her face and fleeing in embarrassment. Xing Lang looks at Lu Ruoxuan and the shopkeeper's mournful backs as they leave, the corners of his mouth hooking into a mocking sneer. These people simply ate a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. They actually dare to look down on Jun Shang. They simply don't know that in the Shushan continent, there was once a clan with monstrous power, bullying men and women, doing all kinds of evil things. But because there was someone backing them from behind, everyone dared to be angry but didn't dare to say anything. In the end, such a clan was disrespectful to Jun Shang at the banquet, and even shouted and ridiculed Xing Lang, who was injured and couldn't stand up. In the end, Jun Shang directly said, "The weather is cold, Wu family should be annihilated." From then on, the Wu family no longer exists in the Shushan continent's northern domain. Tianliang's Wu Mia used to be the Shushan continent's immortals' deepest fear and dread towards the polar domain's emperor. Thinking of this, Xing Lang's eyes are filled with worship and fanaticism. Their Jun Shang is the most perfect, the greatest existence in the world. But such a perfect Jun Shang actually took a fancy to a mortal woman. Thinking of how Jun Shang was just held in that mortal woman's arms and holding his hand, Xing Lang is so envious and jealous that smoke is about to come out of his head. Why was Jun Shang so cute when he was a child? If he could also hug and hold his hand, then he would really die without regrets. But in the blink of an eye, Xing Lang shivers and hurriedly puts away this unrealistic idea of courting death. Activating the jade slip, he read the message sent by Jun Shang. Looking in the direction that Lu Ruoxuan and the others left, he coldly snorted and turned to leave. Although the woman who had taken over Jun Shang was very hateful, the mortal who had offended Jun Shang deserved to die 10,000 times over. No, he'd better spend the crystal stones and get someone to beat them up again. It was forbidden to molest women in the Tianguang ruins. Therefore, after Lu Ruoxuan's clothes were torn for a while, they returned to normal. However, Tianguang ruins clothes had a time limit. After it was torn, its usage time would be shortened. If it was not replaced with a new one, it would disappear after a period of time. Of course, he wouldn't become naked after disappearing. Instead, he would change into the default attire of Tianguang ruins. The majority of Shouja were not willing to wear a very normal white outfit. Only a pauper like Mayan, who simply can't afford to spend money on clothes, would wear a default white outfit to swagger through the streets. Lu Ruoxuan returned to the earth-shattering shop and looked at the dim luster of her clothes. Thinking of the humiliating scene that had just happened, tears of grievance rolled down her cheeks. The humiliation just now made her recall everything that had happened in the windless square. In her entire life, she had never been so disliked, never been pointed out. Chapter 1032. No, she was no longer the same as before. Her ability to draw talismans made her a hero of the mountain-breaking sect. Even the peak lords of the mountain-breaking sect were fighting to take her in as a disciple. Moreover, she was favored by Yin Xiu. As long as she could draw a third-grade talisman, she could even obtain a sixth-grade spiritual weapon. In the future, she could even enter the middle and upper districts and have everyone fawn over her. However, a third-grade talisman, she looked for her senior brother, who usually fawned over her. "Senior brother, have you found the one-star shop that I asked you to look for?" "Junior sister Lu, we've already looked for the one-star store that sold talismans, but we couldn't find the girl you mentioned." Lu Ruoxuan frowned at her senior brother's reply. She reluctantly thanked him and entered the house. She picked up a brush and talisman paper, carefully drawing it. An hour passed. Bean-sized beads of sweat dripped from her forehead and her body was on the verge of collapsing. But in the next moment, the talisman paper in her hand automatically burned. Lu Ruoxuan threw the brush in her hand heavily. Her expression was full of anger and frustration. If she didn't succeed, she wouldn't be able to draw a third-grade talisman no matter what. However, Master Yin's urging became more and more urgent. It wasn't that she didn't think of buying a third-grade talisman from another store. However, Steward Wang said that in Tianguang ruins, there were only a few talisman masters who could draw third-grade talismans. If she bought the finished products of those few talisman masters, Master Xiao would recognize them at a glance. Thus, she only had two choices. Either she could draw a third-grade talisman herself, or find the person who drew them. But Tianguang Ruins was a sea of people. Where would she find such a person? Mu Yan naturally didn't know that Lu Ruoxuan, who had just offended her, was looking for her everywhere in Tianguang Ruins, wanting to buy talismans from her. She was currently being led by Mo Ju into a secluded yet beautiful manor. She knew that Tianguang Ruins was a place for trade and enjoyment. But seeing such a beautiful scene in a virtual world still made Mu Yan exclaim. But after entering, Mu Yan discovered that this wasn't just an ordinary manor. It was more like an entertainment venue called guest residence. There was a lounge for listening to the zither. There are bathhouses for bathing and relaxing. There was a dining hall where one could enjoy delicious food. There were also rooms filled with silks and satins, as well as luxurious clothes and ornaments. Mo Ju and Mu Yan were wearing the most ordinary clothes of Tianguang Ruins. However, the manservants and maidservants of the guest inn were completely different from the snobbish people of the celestial retaining restaurant. Instead, he maintained the most polite smile and welcomed them in. A maidservant with a round face said in a friendly and courteous manner, "Those who come to our guest house will usually choose their clothes first before taking a bath. After that, they will enjoy the delicacies in the dining hall while listening to the zither." Mayan spreads out her hands and says, "But I don't have any jingsher." Before the maid could react, Mo Ju tossed the high-grade crystal to her. "Take us there." Mayan pulled Mo Ju back. "Hey, little Mo, you and I met by chance. I didn't say anything about using your crystal." Mo Ju gritted her teeth. "I'm your husband, you bastard. Who the hell wants to meet you by chance?" However, when he thought of his current appearance, he swallowed the words back down. Chapter 1033. Otherwise, wouldn't he, the Emperor of the Polar Domain, lose all his face? That's right, absolutely not let Mu Yan know even if he dies. However, seeing that he doesn't speak, Mu Yan turns to leave. Mo Ju quickly says, "Ben Jun. I can buy you clothes, they're 100 times better than what you're wearing." However, Mu Yan gave a carefree smile, "There's no need, you can enjoy yourself here. I'll go first." Women like beautiful clothes, but not to the point where they can't not have them. She is an adult who has the ability to earn her own money. How can she let a child spend money on clothes for her? Moreover, it's a child she met by chance. Even if this child gives her a very familiar feeling, as if she has known him for a long time. Seeing that Mu Yan really wants to leave, Mo Ju anxiously steps forward and grabs her hand. "Ben Jun won't let you go." Mu Yan is in a trance for a moment, meeting those familiar deep blue eyes. "What did you just say?" Mo Ju blushes and quickly corrects himself. "I mean, this Gongzi won't let you go." Mu Yan shakes her head, feeling like she's possessed. At first, she thought that Mo Ju was Xiao Bao. But now, she thinks that Mo Ju is Di Mingju. Is she crazy? Just because Mo Ju has a pair of blue eyes, her facial features are somewhat similar to Di Mingju, and even her name has the same pronunciation as the word Ju. But Mo Ju is a child. No matter how similar they are, it can't be Di Mingju. Mu Yan takes a deep breath, wanting to pull her hand out. She feels that she can't stay with Mo Ju anymore, otherwise, her longing for Di Mingju will overflow and become uncontrollable. Mo Ju sees her determined look and is really helpless. Finally, she clenches her teeth, lowers her eyes, and slightly bites her lower lip. In a crisp and slightly hoarse voice, she says, "There is no one to accompany me at home. Like you, can't you accompany me more?" Mu Yan stares blankly, looking down at the lonely expression on the little boy's pretty little face. She only feels that her heart has turned into soft mud. His aggrieved and forbearing appearance is simply carved from the same mold as Xiao Bao. When his long eyelashes droop, the light on his face is dim, as if he's about to cry. It really made people want to bring all the treasures in the world to her. Mu Yan seems to be bewitched by this angelic face and this request that is hard to refuse. She answers as if possessed by some supernatural being, "Okay." As soon as this word came out, the little boy's cold and handsome face instantly overflowed with a bone-piercing gentleness. Even the corners of his lips, which had been stretched taut, curled up into a faint smile. It was truly the blazing sun, the moon and the stars competing for splendor, but nothing could be more beautiful than this momentary smile. She picked up Mo Ju and smiled at the maidservant, "Please lead the way." The smile in Mo Ju's eyes grew brighter the moment Mu Yan picked her up. However, his smile only lasted for a moment before his face fell completely. He, the dignified sovereign emperor of Polar Domain, was actually reduced to playing the pitiful role of a child in order to keep his wife. Even if he died, he would bury this dark history in the Tianguang ruins. Beat him to death, he absolutely couldn't let Mayan find out. In the Linglong Pavilion, Mo Ju bought all the beautiful clothes she could find for Mu Yan. Looking at the price of these clothes, Mu Yan's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Unexpectedly, each of them cost over 100 low-grade crystals. Chapter 1034. It was purely beautiful, without any spiritual power. Moreover, the longest time limit was only 3 years, and the shortest was only a few months. What was the point of buying these things that looked good but had no practical use? Was it to show off like a peacock? Were the cultivators in Tianguang ruins really so stupid? Would they spend money to buy these useless wastes? Mu Yan was really lacking in this regard. Because in Tianguang ruins, whether it was a male or female cultivator, there were many people who bought these kinds of clothes that looked good but had no practical use. Although the clothes and jewelry in Tianguang ruins had no attributes, but they were far more beautiful than the clothes outside. Moreover, when worn on the body, until the time limit was up, they would never be dirty or torn. There were even many clothes that had a sparkling effect, which was really beautiful. And what about the clothes outside? If you wanted to have a sparkling effect, you had to attach spiritual power. But those clothes were equivalent to spiritual weapons, and simply couldn't be bought with a few hundred low-grade crystals. Therefore, many cultivators liked to go to Tianguang ruins to buy some beautiful clothes and wear them out to satisfy their cravings. Mu Yan wanted to decline, but when she saw Mo Ju's insistent eyes, she finally chose a relatively simple set and clicked to change. Changing clothes in Tianguang ruins was really very simple. With just a thought, the original plain and old-fashioned clothes on her body had already been changed into a light blue long gauze dress. A slender waist with a jade belt dancing in the sky, like a fairy descending to the earth. The round-faced maidservant rubbed her eyes, wondering if her eyes were playing tricks on her. This girl's appearance was clearly delicate, but after changing into this blue smoky dance, she gave people a kind of otherworldly and stunning feeling. Every movement of hers seemed to carry a natural charm. That ordinary and delicate face also seemed to be shining at this moment, captivating people's hearts and souls. The round-faced maidservant touched her pounding heart. She was actually stunned by a woman, and her heart was swayed, unable to control herself. After a long time, she fixed her gaze on Mu Yan's face and determined that she was just ordinary and delicate, and then slowly regained her senses. On the side, Mo Ju was stunned when she saw this scene, her eyes full of amazement and longing. But then, seeing the performance of the round-faced maidservant, her face suddenly sank. Bastard, he regretted it. Why did he bring Mayan to buy clothes? Wouldn't this let those wild bees and butterflies see his beauty and pounce on him one by one? What was wrong with him to come up with such a rotten idea? But the words had already been said, and it was too late to regret it now. Mayan turns her head and sees that the little boy is staring blankly at her, but his complexion isn't very good. He couldn't help but smile. What do you think of this? Isn't it nice? Nice. Mo-ju grunted in response. No matter how beautiful she was still his wife. No one else could covet her. Mo-ju reached out and wrapped her arms around Mu-yan's waist. He couldn't hug his waist. Scoundrel, he's too short now. He can't hug Yin-yan's waist, he can only hug her thighs. Mo-ju's heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys were on fire. When he returned to the cultivation continent, when he returned to the polar domain, he would definitely tear that bastard Elder Chang into 1,000 pieces. Chapter 1035. Bathing in it can cleanse one's spirit. Even if one stays in the Tianguang ruins for a few days and nights, one will still feel refreshed and won't feel any discomfort. Cultivators entered the Tianguang ruins with their primordial spirits in a state of deep slumber. Although one's body wouldn't be tired, if one stayed in the Tianguang ruins for too long, one's spirit would be exhausted. There were medicines in the Tianguang ruins that could repair and cleanse the spirit, but they were extremely expensive. Furthermore, it could only be purchased from the ruin master, who was the voice that represented the Tianguang ruins that often resounded in his head. Mu-yan smiled and nodded at the round-faced maidservant. She was quite interested in the mind clarity pool. What kind of virtual pool could repair and cleanse one's soul? Perhaps it should be said that everything in the Tianguang ruins made her feel amazed and amazed. Mu-yan slowly walked into the clear mind pool, with her clothes on. But when her body was halfway in, the smoky blue dance she had just changed into disappeared automatically. From head to toe, there's only a bra wrapped around Mayan's chest. Almost at the same time, Mu-yan feels a refreshing aura that she has never felt before, coming into contact with the water in the pool and pouring into her body. Regardless of whether it was the exhaustion accumulated from drawing talismans or the hard work of staying in the Tianguang ruins for a day without being able to sell talismans, everything vanished completely at this moment. Her face broke into a contented smile. The water in the chi pool gently poured over his body, making him feel more and more comfortable. Her crystal clear, slender arms and round shoulders were exposed. The warm water slid over her creamy, delicate, and snow-white skin. From that exquisite collarbone, it slowly slid down along that seductive curve and flowed into the half-covered bra. Gulp. A barely audible gulp of saliva snaps Mayan back to her senses. She turned her head and saw that Mo-ju hadn't entered the spirit-cleansing pool. Instead, she was standing at the side, staring at her. His handsome little face was flushed, and his long eyelashes drooped slightly, as if he was trying to hide the surging light in his eyes. Murphy, don't you want to come in and take a bath? The water is very comfortable. Mayan asked Mo-ju as she leaned against the edge of the pool. She had obviously lowered her appearance by 100%. But that pair of peach blossom eyes looked so seductive under the water vapor. If Mo-ju had an Adam's apple, it would have moved up and down with difficulty. He took a few steps forward, approaching the edge of the pool and then stopped. At this moment, if he was using his own body, he would have already pounced on this woman and directly cast the array formation on the spot. He wanted to use his actions to tell her how much he missed her, from his body to his heart, from his soul to his body. But, damn it, he was just a kid now. Mu-yan sees that his face is getting redder and redder, as if embarrassed and bashful. Suddenly, an idea struck him, and he chuckled. Are you afraid of water? Mo-ju's body stiffened once more as she gnashed her teeth. Who's afraid of water? Mo. Mo of San, he said in Mo in say, he, Mo of. Mo Master, King, Lord, of, he, and, Mo God, of a, Mo Master, and if. Mo, he, of, Mo, he, of in, Mo, of Mo, of. Chapter 1036. Only a pair of underpants was left on his body, revealing his smooth little chest. Look at this pool, it's not scary at all, and it's very comfortable, isn't it? Mayan smiled as she held him against her chest, letting him sink slightly into the pool. The crystal stones of this guest house are all paid by you. If you don't enjoy it, wouldn't it be a big loss? Mayan's patience was usually not good. But facing this little baby who resembled both Xiao Bao and Di Mingju, Mayan felt all the impatience and hostility in her heart soften as she looked at him. She wished she could give him the best. Mo Ju was stupefied, his cheeks blushing, unable to say a word. His body was tightly pressed against Mayan's soft body. His smooth little arms were pressed against Mayan's undergarments. That, little Mo, why is your face so red? Mu Yan was surprised to find that the little boy in her arms was like a cooked shrimp, completely red, and his skin was boiling hot. Are you okay? Is it because this spirit clarity pool is too effective for children? The girl's slender fingers gently stroked Mo Ju's forehead. The girl's red lips were close at hand, gently opening and closing, as if exuding a seductive fragrance. Mo Ju only felt that all the blood in his body was rushing to one place, and he couldn't control it. Then, his face completely darkened. Mayan was worried and was about to carry him out of the water when Mo Ju hurriedly said, I have something to do, I'll see you next time. Saying that, without waiting for Mayan's response, his figure faded away and disappeared without a trace. Mayan was a little dumbfounded. They left Tianguang ruins just like that. They didn't seem to have added each other as friends, right? She only knew that the little boy was called Mo Ju, and she didn't even know if it was the name used in Tianguang ruins. How would they meet next time? Mayan turned to look at the surroundings of the spirit clarity pool, and all she could see was an empty loneliness. For a moment, she felt an indescribable sense of loss. It was as if she had lost something very important. Even the spirit clarity pool that made her exclaim in amazement and comfort seemed to have lost its attraction. But why did she have to feel disappointed and frustrated? This little boy named Mo Ju, no matter how much he resembles Xiao Bao, or how much he resembles Di Mingju, in the end, he is nothing more than a passerby who has met her by chance. It was like a beautiful dream. After waking up from the dream, one had to return to reality. What's more, one day, she will find Xiao Bao, and also find Di Mingju. Even if she did not rely on this absurd and blurred dream, she could still obtain happiness. Mayan closes her eyes, and when she opens them again, they are already firm and resolute. She was not a person who would grieve for no reason. Instead of bemoaning the current situation, it was better to work hard and move forward in the direction she wanted. She slowly left the clear spirit pool, and Yan Luo Lan Wu's clothes automatically climbed on her body. The round-faced maidservant was waiting outside. Seeing her come out alone, she was startled. His long hair was slightly wet, and his blue robe fluttered in the wind. His ordinary and delicate face carried a kind of calm and reserved air. The round-faced maid was stunned. She even forgot to ask, "Honored guest, would you like to go to the dining hall now?" By the time she reacts and wants to speak, Mayan's figure has already disappeared outside the door of the guest house. Cultivation Continent, Polar Domain. Chapter 1037. In the soul-nurturing house, Elder Chang knelt on the ground, shivering. Why you, Lord, please spare my life. This subordinate didn't expect that the two newly opened karmic spacetime passageways would have side effects. Lord, you can only enter after recovering your child's appearance. Di Mingju looks down from above, glaring fiercely at him. That gaze seemed to want to tear him into pieces. Thinking back to when they were in the clear-mind pool, when he saw Mayan's every frown and smile, when he smelled the familiar fragrance on her body, when he felt her touch, his body actually had a reaction. But of all things, he had the body of a child. If Mayan saw him like that, wouldn't she think of him as a pervert? This isn't just a dark history, it's simply making him, Di Mingju, unable to face Yan Yan ever again. Elder Chang can feel his Jun Shang's volcanic eruption of anger, and his entire body trembles even more violently. However, he was also very wronged and helpless. Who knew that the karmic spacetime channel that had just been opened would have such a side effect? However, if he had known that Jun Shang would turn into a child, he would have followed Xing Lang to the Tianguang ruins to take a look. 1,000 years, it's been 1,000 years since he's seen Jun Shang's appearance as a child. Thinking of this, his old heart was about to jump out of his chest. Di Mingju takes a deep breath, resisting the urge to tear down the soul cultivation house and go look for Mayan. Gritting his teeth, he says, I'll give you 3 days. Ben Jun wants to restore his original appearance and see Mayan in Tianguang ruins. Elder Chang cautiously looks at Di Mingju, but Jun Shang, even if you kill me, even if you give me 3 years, I still won't be able to restore you to your original appearance. Unless you're not afraid of the people of the Nether Realm finding out that you've entered the Heavenlight ruins. Chang Rubai. My lord, spare me. Di Mingju lifts his foot and viciously kicks Elder Chang away. The door of the House of Soul Cultivation slammed shut against Elder Chang's nose. Elder Chang rubbed his face in pain. After a long time, he asked tearfully, Lord, do you still plan to enter Tianguang ruins as Moju? Enter. Seeing Mu Yan with the appearance of a child, not being able to do anything, and leaving behind a pile of history. He might as well leave the Soul Cultivation House as soon as possible, go to the Shuzhen continent himself, and do this to Yan Yan, and do that to her again. Di Mingju gnashes his teeth as he thinks about what he wants to do to Mayan after he goes to the Shuzhen continent. The raging anger in his heart finally subsides a little. My lord, if you don't want to enter the Tianguang ruins, then this subordinate will destroy the Jade Key. Elder Chang's careful voice sounded from outside. The Jade Key used by Di Mingju would be stained with his spiritual aura, and would also establish a connection with Tianguang ruins. If one day he is discovered by the Nether Realm and is tracked back, it may expose Di Mingju's whereabouts. Di Mingju wanted to ignore her, but he recalled the scenes of him and Mu Yan in the Tianguang ruins. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, Get in here and give me the Jade Key. The door of the soul-nurturing house is carefully opened. Trembling with fear, Elder Chang hands the Jade Key to Di Mingju. She sees that Di Mingju carefully takes the Jade Key, but doesn't have any intention of destroying it. His eyes lit up, and he plucked up his courage to say, My lord, when will you enter Tianguang ruins again? I will. Elder Chang's voice disappears under Di Mingju's murderous gaze. Chapter 1038. After driving Elder Chang out of the recuperating soul house, Di Mingju looks at the Jade Key in his hand. The anger in his eyes slowly turns into a bone-chilling gentleness. A face that isn't beautiful, but he's very familiar with it, seems to appear in front of him. No matter what his face turns into, he can recognize it at a glance. No matter whether his face is beautiful or ugly, it can easily affect his heart, his soul, and his desire. Yan Yan, it's great that you're safe and sound. After coming out of Tianguang ruins, Mayan's mood isn't very good. Her fellow apprentices think that it's because her talismans can't be sold, so they comfort her one after another. The food we bought last time can still be eaten for several days. We can slowly sell the talismans, we can always sell them. Yes, little sister, don't blame yourself. It's because our shop's popularity is too low that your talismans can't be sold. Alas, if we can let little Martial Uncle stand on the stage for a day, our shop is guaranteed to have a lot of money, and customers can't be stopped. Hee hee, fourth sister, it's not even dark yet, and you're already dreaming. Listening to the comforting words of her fellow apprentices, Mayan's dripping mood gradually turns better. Xiaoyao's sect, all of you come out, the holy sect is here to collect the shelter fee. In an instant, the originally laughing crowd's face suddenly becomes gloomy. Mayan curiously asks, what kind of sect is the holy sect? What's the shelter fee? Little sister, don't worry about this. Yun Ruhan gently presses Mayan's shoulder, and says in a deep voice, you and third brother stay in this room, don't come out, we'll deal with this matter. After that, without waiting for Mayan's response, she takes the lead and walks out of the door. Second senior brother and fourth senior sister reminded her again, little junior sister, you hide inside and don't come out. Soon, there are only Chu Moli sitting in a wheelchair with a calm expression, and Mayan who is scratching her head in confusion. Mayan wants to go out to see the situation, but after thinking about it, she goes to the window and looks out. She sees that more than 20 male cultivators have gathered outside the Xiaoyao sect. These male cultivators have different levels of strength. The weakest of them was only at the 5th level of the body refinement realm. They looked very young and wore the uniform of a disciple. But there were also a few with extremely high cultivation, all of them above the 5th level of Anidia. One of them was over 40 years old and had even reached the 9th level of fasting. As soon as they entered the gate of the carefree sect, they kicked the pillar heavily. With a cracking sound, the already worn-out beam broke, and the plaque that read, Xiaoyao School, fell down and shattered into pieces. Mu Yan cursed, what the hell? So arrogant. That's Elder Su Qing of the whole unitary sect. Chu Moli's gentle and calm voice suddenly entered his ears. The Merak mountain range belongs to the whole unitary sect. That's why all the sects in the Heavenly Jade Mountain range have to pay a protection fee to the Guei sect, which is similar to paying tribute to the Guei sect. In this way, the whole unitary sect will lend a helping hand when the subsidiary sects encounter reinforcements. They will also provide the disciples of the subsidiary sects with the opportunity to gain experience in the sect's trial tower. What if I don't pay the asylum fee? Mu Yan asked, won't they provide asylum? Chapter 1039. None of the sects that didn't pay the fee had a good ending. They were either trampled by a sudden beast tide or attacked by roaming bandits. In the end, they all died tragically. Mu Yan faintly smiled, this is really too coincidental. It is. But if I remember correctly, the Xiaoyao sect doesn't have any crystal stones to pay, right? Did the holy sect let us off because we're too poor? Meeting Mu Yan's curious gaze, the corners of Chu Moli's mouth slightly curled up. Elder Feng of the whole unfettered sect has some friendship with our master. Plus, the Xiaoyao school is really too poor, there's not much to be gained. So, this is the first time I've seen them come to collect the fee. They didn't come to collect the fee for a few years. Why did they suddenly come? Of course, they knew that the Xiaoyao sect was rich. Mu Yan suddenly understood. They must have bought a lot of things in the market and were discovered by the holy sect. Outside the room, Yun Ruhan looked at the broken sign and said angrily, Elder Su, the holy sect suddenly came to the Xiaoyao sect. What can I do for you? Didn't I just say it? Su Qing said coldly with a hint of disdain, the Xiaoyao sect owes the holy sect protection fee. You haven't paid it for 7 years. Today, I'm here to collect the fee. Yun Ruhan frowned. Elder Feng of the holy sect has always been in charge of the fee. What do you mean? Su Qing's face darkened. Are you saying that I'm not qualified to collect the fee? Elder Feng is in closed-door cultivation. Can't I collect the fee? Or are you saying that the Xiaoyao sect doesn't want to pay the fee? Pay what? Before Yun Ruhan could say anything, the hot-tempered Leng Yuma couldn't take it anymore. Since when did your Guai sect protect my Xiaoyao sect? You still want to collect protection fees? Believe it or not, I'll beat your ass until it blossoms. How dare you? How dare you be rude to my master? The Xiaoyao sect is rebelling. Do you want to leave the holy sect? Fine. Since you're so arrogant, don't blame the holy sect for being impolite. Don't blame us if your sect is flattened by the beasts tonight. Furthermore, the bazaar at the foot of the mountain was run by the whole Gui sect. Since your carefree society has left the whole Gui sect, you can forget about ever entering the bazaar. The attitude of the Gui sect's disciples was abnormally arrogant. Ling Yuma was about to explode from anger. But before he could explode, he was pulled back by Yun Ruhan. They weren't afraid of these people, but the whole unitary sect was a big sect. They outnumbered the Xiaoyao sect by hundreds of times. If the whole unitary sect really took revenge, they could just abandon the sect and flee. But what about third junior brother and little junior sister who were unable to walk? How could he let his junior brother and junior sister get hurt because of his impulsive anger? Yun Ruhan took a deep breath and swallowed her anger. My master isn't here today. Can we discuss the asylum fee tomorrow? Chapter 1040. If you really don't have any crystals, then hand over the things you bought yesterday to pay for the protection fee. Leng Yuma suddenly exploded. Fuck you, you want my things? Do you believe that I won't cut you into pieces? She pulled out her sword and was about to charge forward. But Yun Ruhan pulled her back. Eldest senior brother, let me go. If you want me to endure this group of bastards, I might as well die. Yun Ruhan's face suddenly darkened and said coldly, you fought to your heart's content, but have you thought about what will happen to little junior sister and third junior brother if the Gui sect comes looking for revenge? Even if it's little seventh, do you think he can escape from the Gui sect? In the entire Xiaoyao sect, other than Chu Moli, Luoyu had the lowest cultivation level. She had just reached level 1 in Nidia a while ago. This kind of cultivation level was already very good in the Azure Heaven realm. But the problem was that there were too few people in the Xiaoyao sect. No matter which sect they faced, they would be crushed by the other sects in terms of numbers. Unless they abandoned the sect and ran away, they would only be destroyed along with the sect. Especially since the people of the Xiaoyao sect had gathered here because they desired a peaceful life, or because they could only live a peaceful life. So even if they were poor and dejected, even if they were depressed, they still endured. Because once the peaceful life was broken, what awaited them was likely to be a hellish abyss. The anger on Leng Yuma's face was slowly replaced by unwillingness, grievance, and pain. She clenched her teeth and finally slowly retreated. Yun Ruhan forced a smile to Su Qing. Elder Su, please wait a moment. We'll go and get the crystals and things. Little seventh, go and take out the crystals and the things we bought yesterday. Eldest senior brother. Go quickly. Luo Yu clenched her teeth and finally turned around to go to Yun Ruhan's room. Yun Ruhan had bought a grade 2 glove and a grade 3 speed increasing accessory. Seeing these two items, Su Qing and the others' eyes all lit up. Although they were only grade 2 and grade 3 low-level spiritual weapons. But they were still worth tens of low-grade crystals. Su Qing originally thought that his disciples said that the Xiaoyao sect had made a fortune was to mock him. But now, it seemed that the Xiaoyao sect had acquired a lot of good stuff. The two disciples standing beside Su Qing quickly rushed forward and snatched the crystal and spiritual weapon from Luo Yu's hands. With a flattering smile, he handed it over to Su Qing and said, "Master, the Carefree School definitely has more good things than these." Su Qing put them away, coughed, and said, "These things aren't even enough to pay the Carefree sect's shelter fee this year. You've been in debt for 7 years. Yun Ruhan's face darkened. "Don't go too far." "Ha, we've gone too far. It is only right and proper for one to repay a debt." Su Qing's face darkened, and he said in disdain, "Looks like you won't be obedient even if I asked you to hand it over yourself. Men, go in and search." "You're not allowed to search." Yun Ruhan suddenly let out a furious roar. This angry roar contained a powerful pressure that shocked everyone present. Ling Yuma laughed sinisterly and raised her sword again. She even licked the blade with her tongue, looking like she couldn't wait to kill someone. Ling Yuxing's movements were still gentle, but he was holding several embroidery needles in his hand. Chapter 1041. It was just an ordinary needle and thread, but when it was taken out, it gave off a strong smell of blood. Luo Yu waved her hand, and a doll-like object appeared in front of her. She moved her finger lightly, and the doll moved on its own as if it had a life of its own. This time, even Su Qing's expression changed. Especially when Qin Jiu took a step forward and stared at him with bloodthirsty eyes, then let out a threatening roar. That roar was even more shocking than Yun Ruhan's, and it caused their blood to surge. Su Qing suddenly realized that the cultivation of these poor people from the Xiaoyao sect was very high. In fact, they were not any lower than him. "You, what are you doing? Are you trying to rebel?" he roared. "Don't forget, if you offend the holy sect, your Xiaoyao sect will not have a good ending. Do you want to wait for your sect to be destroyed?" Yun Ruhan pressed down Ling Yuma's sword and looked at Su Qing. "Elder Su, if you really think it's not enough, I can give you all my crystals and my sword. We will also think of a way to repay the debt we owe the holy sect. But my little junior sister and my weak junior brother are in the sect. Please don't disturb them." With that, he threw away the remaining crystals along with the sword at his waist and looked at Su Qing coldly. Su Qing's expression changed a few times. He glanced at Qin Jiu and coldly snorted, "You better return the remaining crystal stones quickly. Otherwise, don't blame my whole unitary sect for kicking you out of the list of subsidiary sections. At that time, you bunch of poor people won't even be able to stay in the Tianxian mountain range." With that, Su Qing waved his hand. Immediately, the holy sect disciples went to pick up the crystals and the sword. "Eldest senior brother, that's your sword." Luo Yu shouted anxiously. "Why don't you give my doll?" Yun Ruhan stopped her halfway through her sentence. He looked at the crystals and the sword. His expression was calm, but his heart was bleeding. These crystals were obtained by his little junior sister after she painstakingly drew talismans. Although the sword's rank was not high, it had been with him for many years. But for the sect, for his junior brothers and sisters, he had no choice but to do so. Su Qing weighed the crystals and the long sword in his hands in satisfaction. He smiled and waved his hand. "Let's go." "Who said that all of you can leave?" Right at this moment, a clear and melodious voice that was like the sound of nature resounded. Su Qing was startled and looked in the direction of the voice. A woman in a green dress slowly walked out of the house. Behind her was the ruined encampment of the Xiaoyao sect. The girl didn't have any makeup on her face. However, when she walked out of the shadows and into the sunlight, all the disciples of the Gue sect forgot how to breathe. There were even people who were drooling from the corners of their mouths, but they didn't notice it at all. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? Su Qing stared blankly for a while, then suddenly came to his senses. Is this the new disciple of the carefree school? He looked at Mu Yen, who was walking towards him step by step, with infatuation. He murmured, "Little girl, if you're willing to sleep with me for a night, I'll waive all the protection fees of the carefree school. How about it?" As soon as he said this, the people of the carefree school, who were already filled with righteous indignation, almost went crazy with hatred. Chapter 1042. Su Qing suddenly recovered from his infatuation, but he wasn't angry at all. Instead, he laughed out loud. Such a beautiful woman, staying in a broken place like the Xiaoyao sect is really too much of a waste. Little beauty, why don't you come back to the holy sect with me? I promise you that you'll have a good life. The corners of Mu Yan's mouth slowly hooked up. The smile on her face was innocent and bright. Her watery peach blossom eyes seemed to be reflecting thousands of stars. Have a good life. I can invite you right now. Su Qing looked at her smile and sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes became even more infatuated. But before he could react to Mu Yan's words, he felt a sudden pain on his face. Then, his whole body flew out like a kite with a broken string. After Mu Yan kicked the extremely daring Su Qing away, her figure slowly landed like a fluttering butterfly. It was too beautiful to behold. The people of the holy sect didn't even react when she hit their elder. Only when Mu Yan completely landed did they suddenly wake up. You, what are you doing? Smelly girl, you've eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. You actually dared to hit our elder Su. Mu Yan sneered and walked over. She stepped on elder Su, who was in so much pain that he couldn't get up, and dug out all the crystal stones, spirit tools, and long sword from his chest. You're the ones who ate a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. You dare to steal my things, hee, you really don't know how to write the word death. After kicking elder Su away, Mu Yan took the things and slowly walked in front of Yun Ruhan. She threw the things into his chest and snappily said, "Eldest senior brother, you're too easy to bully. It's already good enough that we didn't steal other people's things. You actually spat out what you've already eaten. Is there something wrong with your brain?" Yun Ruhan opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. He felt that there was indeed something wrong with his brain. In his mind, the gentle, kind, beautiful, weak, talented little junior sister who needed their protection, why was she so valiant? Even Leng Yuma and Qin Jiu were stunned. Little junior sister was so overbearing, so mighty. It was completely different from what they had imagined. However, why did such a junior sister and her words make them feel so carefree? Even Ling Yuxing and Chu Moli, who had seen Mu Yan's ruthlessness, didn't expect that Mu Yan would actually directly attack Elder Su, as if she didn't even consider the consequences of offending the whole unitary sect. Only Luo Yu cupped her face in her hands, her face full of admiration as she said, "Sixth senior sister is amazing. I haven't seen sixth senior sister fly into a rage for half a month. I've almost forgotten how handsome and awesome senior sister was at Windless Plaza." In the Windless Square, Mu Yan had been coerced by the Leaf Fire sect elder Qian Feng and his nephew. However, those people were still dealt with by sixth senior sister in the end. Even elder Qian Feng was angered to the point of vomiting blood. He, sixth senior sister is mighty. Su Qing struggled to crawl up from the ground. He circulated his spiritual energy, and only then did the pain on his face lessen a little. He viciously and tyrannically looks at Mayan, "Smelly girl, do you know who I am? How dare you attack me?" Mayan turned her head and looked over with a faint smile, "Damn old man, do you know who I am?" You dare to pluck hair from my sect? When had Su Qing ever been ridiculed and humiliated like this? He immediately fell backwards in anger. Chapter 1043. Especially this little slut, capture her alive. Today, I will let her know the consequences of offending me, Su Qing. Qin Zhou suddenly takes a step forward, blocking in front of Mu Yan, and roars, Who dares to touch little junior sister, you have to go through me first. Ling Yuma's sword whistles as she rushes towards a Gue sect disciple. Damn it, you dare to covet my little junior sister, I will kill you. Eldest senior brother, since we have already offended the Gue sect, we might as well go all out. Otherwise, are we going to let them bully sixth senior sister? Luo Yu laughs mischievously and commands the doll. The doll suddenly erupts with a powerful energy, and a stick suddenly appears in its hand, which it swings towards the Gue sect disciple. Ling Yuxing faintly sneers, Smelly men, you dirted my clothes, I will make you pay with your lives. As soon as he says that, the needle and thread in his hand shoot out like lightning. The person who is shot by the needle screams in an instant. He is completely unable to move, and falls straight down. Oh, don't hit me, don't hit me. It hurts, oh, don't kill me. Master, save me, save me. In the dilapidated square of the Xiaoyao sect, screams rise and fall, accompanied by a cloud of dust. Yun Ruhan sighs, flips her wrist, and the unremarkable long sword in her hand emits a dazzling light. He soared into the air and suddenly attacked Su Qing with the force of 1,000 caddies. Mu Yan looks at the battle in front of her, her mouth slightly wide open, her face full of shock. Although she already knew that the strength of her fellow disciples is not bad. But isn't this too strong? In just a short quarter of an hour, more than half of the Gue sect disciples have fallen. And in this large half, there are even a few rank 5 fasting cultivators. But facing the attacks of Qin Zhou and the others, they do not have the slightest ability to fight back. Even Su Qing, who is rank 9 fasting, when faced with Yun Ruhan, who seems to be only rank 5 fasting, he unexpectedly retreats step by step. There is a cripple here, quickly take him as a hostage. Mu Yan turns back in shock and sees that there is already a Gue sect disciple rushing towards Chu Moli. It is already too late to save him, she can only rely on zither sound blades. The Tian Mo Qin has already appeared in Mayan's hands. However, before he could even pluck the zither strings, he saw the whole unitary sect's disciple who had thrown himself at Chu Moli inexplicably scream and fall to the ground. He was foaming at the mouth, and his face was filled with pain. He couldn't even crawl up. Hee. It seemed like she had worried for nothing. Mayan expressionlessly retrieves the Tian Mo Qin. As expected, there wasn't a single person in her sect who was simple. On the square in front of the Xiaoyao gate, the dust gradually settled. The disciples of the whole unitary sect, along with Elder Su, were all piled up on the ground. Yun Ruhan looked at the people who had been subdued. This time, we've really offended the holy sect. Even Elder Feng won't be able to help us. Luo Yu frowned and said, Why don't we inform Master? Tell Master to call Junior Martial Uncle back. With Junior Martial Uncle here, the Xiaoyao school will be fine. Bang! A blow landed on Luo Yu's forehead. Chapter 1044. Cough. Luo Yu shivered, I won't say it. We can't let Martial Uncle know that we caused such a big trouble. But, how are we going to end this? Ling Yuma licked her lips, how about we kill them all? Kill them to silence them and eliminate the roots. Hearing this, the people of the holy sect who were still conscious turned pale and begged for mercy. Su Qing gritted his teeth and said, "Your Xiaoyao sect is really bold. How dare you betray the holy sect? Let me tell you, many people in the holy sect know that I came out today. If I don't go back tonight, the holy sect will come and flatten your Xiaoyao sect tomorrow. You bunch of trash, just wait for your deaths." Yun Ruhan's face was very ugly. This was the result he was most afraid of. That's why he had been swallowing his anger. Su Qing looked at him and immediately burst into laughter. "If you let me go now, then kowtow to me and admit your mistakes, perhaps I can still spare your lives." Slap. Before he could finish his words, he was stomped into the dust by a small embroidered shoe. Mu Yen stepped on his face and sneered, "Elder Su of the holy sect, you're quite unyielding. Even at this time, you can still be so stubborn." Su Qing's face turned red. His eyes were full of humiliation and resentment. "Bitch, kill me if you can. At that time, your entire Xiaoyao sect will be buried with me. Killing you would be such a pity." Mayan pats his face and sneers, "I think that Elder Su's unyielding character makes me quite like and respect him. In order to show my respect, I've decided to give all of you a gift." Su Qing roared, "You witch, what the hell do you want to do?" However, Mu Yen doesn't pay attention to him. Instead, she looks towards Chu Moli. She blinked her eyes and revealed a sly smile on her beautiful face. "Third senior brother, I see you drawing mountains and rivers all day long. How boring. Are you interested in drawing a portrait? They're all handsome men who don't wear clothes and have enchanting postures." In the meeting room of the Xiaoyao sect, the tables and chairs had already been moved away. Instead, they were replaced by men who were stripped naked and had nothing to show for it. All of them were placed in shameful and enchanting postures, entangled in 2s and 3s. From time to time, they would accidentally bump into each other, producing sounds that would make one blush and make one's heart race. Not far from them, a handsome young man in a wheelchair was earnestly drawing in front of a drawing board. Beside him, Leng Yuma, Qin Jiao and Luo Yu were squatting. Sometimes, they would look at the painting, and sometimes, they would look at the person. From time to time, they would burst into laughter. "Third senior brother, the movements of the person on the left aren't graceful enough. Wait a moment, I'll make them better. Ha ha ha, third senior brother, I used to think that your drawing skills were bad and even wondered what the hell you were drawing. But now, I think that your drawing skills are really amazing. Isn't junior sister the most ruthless one?" He actually thought of such a method to shut them up. Ha 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 ha. Not far away, there was a man in his 40s who was completely naked. His eyes were bloodshot, and his face was filled with shame and anger. It was as if he wanted to eat someone alive. However, his body was placed in a coquettish and charming position. Chapter 1045. Luo Yu burst into laughter. "Hey hey hey, third senior brother, he's tearing up. It's too perfect. Hurry up and draw." The brush in Chu Moli's hand moved as if it was flying. It was so fast that after images could be seen. In just a short while, Elder Su's face and body, as well as his graceful posture, were already vividly drawn on the paper. Seeing that the drawing was done, Luo Yu immediately snatched the paper and brought it to Su Qing. "Elder Su, hurry up and take a look. Isn't our third senior brother's drawing skills superb? Look at your body, your posture, and every part of your body. Our senior brother has drawn you so vividly that people will definitely recognize you as Elder Su with a single glance." Elder Su stared at the drawing in Luo Yu's hand. He snorted and opened his mouth for a long time, but he couldn't say a word. Seeing him like this, Luo Yu laughed even more happily. Elder Su, say, if third senior brother were to make a dozen of these paintings and distribute them in the bazaar, to all the sects in the Azure Heaven Realm, and let all the cultivators in the Azure Heaven Realm admire your enchanting and beautiful posture, how interesting would that be? Elder Su, when you and your disciple become famous in the future, don't forget that it's all thanks to our efforts. Su Qing's eyes rolled back and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He couldn't take it anymore and directly fainted. However, his body seemed to be controlled by something. Even though he fainted, he still maintained the same posture. Luo Yu chuckled and moved her fingers slightly. The puppet standing at the side also moved its legs, and only then did Elder Su directly fall down. Seeing that Elder Su had completely fainted, Luo Yu happily took the drawing and returned to Chu Moli's side to watch him draw the others. After more than 2 hours, Chu Moli finally finished drawing the portraits of all the whole unitary sect's disciples. Ling Yuma and Luo Yu fought to see his drawing. They laughed loudly as they looked. Ling Yuxing snatched a drawing and took a look. His face immediately turned red. These are all men's naked bodies. How could junior sister come up with such an idea? Girls don't know how to be shy. Yun Ruhan, who had walked over from the side, wiped her face and thought to herself, not only is your junior sister not shy, she even wants to draw with third junior brother in high spirits. If it wasn't for them trying their best to stop her, perhaps half of the nude men would have been drawn by their junior sister. They always felt that they had recruited a fake junior sister. However, when Yun Ruhan turned her head around, she saw Chu Moli sitting in his wheelchair, lightly sketching the final group portrait. She was slightly taken aback. Although the face of the young man in the wheelchair was still sickly pale, there was a faint blush on his cheeks. The tips of his brows and the corners of his eyes seemed to sparkle with brilliant starlight. In the past, he had also seen his third junior brother painting. At that time, he was also smiling, but his smile was as deep as the ocean, as if it was hiding some kind of ruthless, crazy desire to destroy everything. This could be seen from the contents of his paintings. That kind of smile was completely different from the smile that came from the bottom of his heart. So, little junior sister asked third junior brother to draw for his own good? Was it to ease the knot in his heart? Chapter 1046. Even if her method of dealing with the whole unitary sect was a bit sinister. However, the whole unitary sect had gone too far, and he couldn't stand it anymore. Clap, clap, clap. More than 20 naked male cultivators of the whole unitary sect were thrown outside the Xiaoyao sect. Luo Yu clapped her hands and said in a condescending tone, "Remember what happened today. If anyone dares to complain to the whole unfettered sect, or if the unfettered sect is attacked by ferocious beasts or bandits, I guarantee that in less than 3 days, your coquettish portraits will be spread across the entire Azure Heaven Realm. If you have the guts, you can try it." The male cultivators of the whole unitary sect covered their private parts with their hands and shouted in shame and indignation, "You're too much. Give us those portraits. Hey, do you think I'm stupid? Give them back to you." Luo Yu made a face. "At least, give us back our clothes. How are we going to go back like this?" Yun Ruhan thought about it and was about to take out their clothes. However, before she could take them out, Ling Yuma stopped her. "Bah, you smashed the signboard of the Xiaoyao sect, and you still want clothes. In your dreams." Ling Yuma sneered and threw them a tattered sheet. "Here, you can use this to go down the mountain." "Bastard, this sheet is so short, how can it be enough for all of us?" Ling Yuma said, "You don't want the sheet. Then give it back to me, and you can go down the mountain naked." The disciples of the whole unitary sect were frightened, and they didn't dare to say anything else. They all grabbed the sheet, hoping to get a piece of cloth to cover their private parts. As for the unconscious elder Sue, no one cared about him anymore. Just like that, she was lying on the ground with her round buttocks raised high. The people of the Xiao Yao sect couldn't help but laugh. Even the calm Yun Ruhan couldn't help but laugh. Although what they did today wasn't right, why did they feel so good? She felt like all the anger that she had accumulated over the years was released at this moment. What are you doing? Just as everyone was convulsing with laughter, a magnetic and pleasant male voice suddenly rang in their ears. That voice was clearly like jade, clear and pure, captivating people's hearts and souls. However, when the members of the Xiao Yao sect heard it, they couldn't help but shiver. Even the most lawless Leng Yumao felt a chill down her spine as a drop of cold sweat rolled down her forehead. Then, a shrill and wretched voice whistled into their ears. Wahahaha, what are you guys playing at? It looks very interesting. How could I miss out on such an interesting event? There was a bang. A strange spirit beast with a slender body landed on Su Qing's bare buttocks. After it steadied itself, it even stepped back and forth. Then, it suddenly shrieked and jumped to the side in disgust. Damn, I thought you were a beauty when I saw your white body. Unexpectedly, they were all rough men. Who would want to see the naked bodies of rough men? Are you all perverts? Master, punish them. Quickly punish them. Since Big Brother and the others were determined not to allow Mu Yan to watch Third Brother drawing a nude portrait, Mu Yan could only bitterly run back to the house to continue drawing talismans. In fact, Mu Yan was quite indignant. They were both women, so why was fourth sister allowed to watch? But she was driven back. Chapter 1047. He even guided his disciple in perfecting his drawing skills. Her drawing skills are no worse than Third Brother's, all right. Arguing about this kind of thing is rather boring, so she can only drop it. Wait until the people of Hellfire Valley ascend, she must draw to her heart's content. She finishes drawing 31st grade talismans and 52nd grade talismans. Mu Yan thinks about it, then directly enters Qingguang ruins. The gold man is number 1 under the heavens shop is now filled with her talismans. Unfortunately, after 3 days, there's still not a single customer. Unfortunately, the people in the neighboring shops are still discussing. Because a sacred dance of ice has received Master Yin's appreciation, that earth-shattering shop has risen in popularity. Every day, who knows how many people go to the shop to buy talismans. It's said that Sacred Dance of Ice can draw 3rd grade talismans at most, but the success rate is not high. Therefore, the earth-shattering shop only sells 1st grade and 2nd grade talismans. But even so, the price of these 2nd grade talismans is still very high. Ordinary shops only need 18 low-grade crystals for 2nd grade talismans. In the earth-shattering shop, it needs 50 low-grade crystals. The main point is that the shop is still crowded with customers, and many people can't buy them even if they want to. This is the celebrity effect. Mu Yan sighs, softly lamenting, Xiao Bao, oh Xiao Bao, if you didn't come back, Nyangqin would die of poverty. So poor that she can't even sell a single talisman. If her dear Xiao Bao is here, with Xiao Bao's heaven-defying luck, this shop would be filled with customers just by standing outside. Excuse me, do you sell talismans here? As Mu Yan is lost in thought, a shy voice suddenly comes from the door. Oh my, just as she's thinking about Xiao Bao, a customer comes to the door. Mu Yan immediately smiles, I do, but I only have 1st grade and 2nd grade talismans here. In fact, in the past 2 days, some people have come to this shop to ask about talismans. But all they want are 3rd grade talismans. As soon as they hear that she doesn't have them here, they immediately turn around and leave, not even interested in asking again. Standing at the door is a very young girl, her neck slightly shrunk, her face full of embarrassment. Hearing Mu Yen say that there are first and second grade talismans, he promptly says, I only want second grade talismans, but I only have 5 low-grade crystal stones, but my brother is injured and his internal organs are bleeding. I really need healing talismans. The little girl was so ashamed that she couldn't even raise her head. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. I'm sorry. I know that 5 crystals are definitely not enough. I've visited many shops, but none of them are willing to pay on credit. Mu Yen sees that the rims of her eyes are red from anxiety, yet she stubbornly refuses to shed tears. She thinks of Wei Zi, who has already gone to the Misty Cloud sect. She smiled, took the 5 pieces of low-grade crystal stones, and handed 2 second-grade healing talismans to the little girl. You are my first customer, and I'm in a good mood. Today, buy one get one free. The little girl's eyes lit up and her face was filled with disbelief. Even if this was only a 1-star shop, a second-grade talisman, no matter how bad the quality was, would still cost at least 15 crystals. 5 crystal stones, even a first-grade talisman might not necessarily be able to be bought, let alone 2 second-grade talismans. Thank you so much. My name is Bei Kue Xiang Wan. I will definitely find a way to return the crystals I owe you. Chapter 1048. Mu Yen shakes her head and laughs in spite of herself. She waits for a while, and seeing that the shop is really deserted, she prepares to leave. It's just that before she goes offline, she remembers something and heads to the trading center of Tianguang Ruins. About half an hour later, Mu Yan's figure appears in the space. On the green lawn, Qi Huang is digging the grass in boredom. Seeing her appear, he just lazily raises his head to glance at her, as if he doesn't want to pay attention to her. Mu Yen walks up to him in a few steps and throws the thing in her hand. This is for you to pass the time. Qi Huang stares blankly and picks up the thing on the ground. It's a black ball. In the center, there's a small groove, marked with spiritual power. Qi Huang tries to press his finger on the groove and infuse it with spiritual power. With a swoosh, the ball suddenly disperses, and a magnificent scene unfolds in front of Qi Huang. This is a very popular game in the Shuzhen continent, called spirit-peering chess. It can be played by up to 8 people, or at least, 1 person can also play. Qi Huang's slender fingers gently pinch one of the chess pieces that has been made into a small person, and he looks up at Mu Yen. That expression, that gaze, it seems to be somewhat dull and silly, indescribably adorable. Mu Yen smiles and reaches out to stroke his head. You can study it by yourself first, or you can play with Chucho. When I have time, I'll come in and play with you. Later, I'll study it to see if there's a way for you to enter Tianguang Ruins. In Tianguang Ruins, everyone who enters is a primordial spirit, and they can change their appearance and name. Even if you, Qi Huang, go in, you won't be discovered. Qi Huang suddenly clenches the chess piece in his hand, his teeth slightly biting his lower lip. His voice seems to be a bit hoarse. Why? Why what? Qi Huang grits his teeth, his voice becoming more and more hoarse. Why are you so good to me? This is good to you. Mu Yen sneers, reaching out to rub his hair again. You're moved by this little thing. You still say you're not a child. Bastard. Qi Huang explodes. This sage is an artifact spirit that has lived for tens of thousands of years. Mu Yen picks her ears and says impatiently, I've heard it so much that my ears have gotten calluses. Her expression turned serious as she stared at the rosy-cheeked youth in front of her. She said in a low voice, Qi Huang, I don't know what kind of past you have or what kind of relationship we once had. But in my heart, from the day you recognized me as your master, you are the person that I, Jun Mayan, will protect. Although your mouth is unforgiving, you've helped me time and time again. Even if you had to sacrifice your cultivation, you still wanted to save my life. So, I will do my best to treat you well, until you hate me as your master and want to leave. Qi Huang opened his mouth, wanting to speak, but found that his throat was so dry that he couldn't make a sound. Mu Yen chuckled. It's just a spirit-peering chess, and you're moved to this extent. Then, there will be plenty of time for you to thank your master, Qi Shaohuang. Bastard, don't call me Qi Shaohuang again. Qi Huang stomps his feet in anger, but Mayan's figure has already disappeared in the space. He puffs out his cheeks and looks at the chessboard spread out by his side. The magnificent scenery on it could almost be passed off as real. That idiot June Mayan, she clearly didn't have any money, but she still bought him the spirit-peering chess. Chapter 1049. Complaining like this, Qi Huang's eyebrows and eyes are tinged with a faint smile. What is this? It's so beautiful. Little Phoenix's excited and curious voice suddenly comes to his ears. Then, he sees a small fiery red figure flying towards the direction of the spirit-peering chess. Qi Huang is quick to react and quickly slaps Little Phoenix away. He fiercely glares at Little Phoenix and angrily says, "This is mine. If it's broken, can you afford to pay for it?" Qi Huang's hand gently holds the chess piece in his hand and puts it on the chessboard. Activating his spiritual power, the little chess piece begins to slide forward, over the mountains, over the ridges, and see the sea. Obviously, it's the little chess piece that moves, but Qi Huang feels that these scenes are seen and experienced by himself. His face shows a genuine youthful smile, low with pride and happiness. This is June Mayan's gift to me, only for me. Mayan speaks domineeringly in front of Qi Huang, but when she leaves the space, her heart seems to be bleeding. She was originally a pauper, and now she doesn't even have a crystal stone. Sure enough, it's not easy to raise a brat. Qi Huang, that little bastard, is not as considerate as her Xiao Bao, who will help her make money. At this time, third brother's painting should almost be finished, right? While thinking, she walks out of the door. But the strange thing is that the whole Xiaoyao school is quiet. There was neither second senior brother shouting and practicing, nor fourth senior sister making a fuss. Even eldest senior brother's nagging voice was absent. What's going on? Is everyone so tired after painting that they all went to take a nap? While thinking about this, Mayan pushes open the door of the meeting hall. Suddenly, 6 figures standing in rows come into view. What are you doing? Mayan's soul is almost scared out of her body. She pats her chest and snappily says. She sees the 6 people standing in the middle of the meeting hall, motionless. Who else can it be but her fellow apprentices? Unexpectedly, after Mayan asks, none of the 6 people speak. On the contrary, each of them blinks and keeps glancing to the left, looking anxious and nervous. Left? What is that place? Oh, Mayan remembers, it's a locked courtyard. She had once wanted to push the door open to take a look, but was stopped by second senior brother. Qin Zhou's speech isn't fluent, and he stutters for a long time. Mu Yen can only roughly understand. This courtyard was a forbidden area. No one was allowed to enter. Why were the senior and junior brothers staring at the courtyard of the forbidden area? You want me to take a look at the courtyard? Ling Yuma and the rest blinked their eyes furiously, their expressions distorted. Oh, Mu Yen said, then I'll go take a look. With that, he turned around and walked towards the courtyard. A drop of cold sweat rolled down Yun Ruhan's forehead. Even Chu Moli, who had always been the calmest, twitched the corners of his mouth. His face was filled with reluctance. Luo Yu even closed her eyes, a mourning expression on her face. Finished, 6th senior sister is finished. Arriving in front of the courtyard, Mu Yan discovered that the lock on the door had been smashed open. She reached out and gently pushed the door, and it slid backwards silently. What he saw was a somewhat barren but still tidy and elegant scenery. No, compared to the Xiaoyao school, which was so poor that only dust remained, this was already a very luxurious courtyard. There was even a pond in the middle of the courtyard. Chapter 1050. Mu Yan took a few steps closer to the pool. She was thinking about why her fellow apprentices were standing motionless in the meeting hall and why they called her to enter the courtyard. Suddenly, an alarm went off in her heart. Then, she heard the sound of water splashing. A tall figure leaped out of the water like a graceful swan. Mu Yan only felt a few drops of water splashing on her face. Her vision blurred and the water vapor filled the air. In the next moment, a cold murderous intent wrapped around her neck. A man's elegant and magnetic voice came into her ears. "Who let you in?" Mu Yan's movements were also very fast, almost at the moment when the tip of the sword touched her throat. The 7 absolute swords instantly changed from a multicolored glow to a crystal-clear longsword, pointing at the man's chest. Mu Yan said coldly, "Who are you? Why did you appear in my Xiaoyao school? Young martial uncle, please show mercy." Outside the courtyard, a few people stumbled into the courtyard. "Little martial sister, don't be unreasonable, this is our young martial uncle." "Young martial uncle, this is our little martial sister Mu Yan, you must not kill her." Ling Yuma gasped for breath and shouted with a sharp voice. She saw that each of them was sweating profusely, gasping for breath, and their spiritual power was almost exhausted. Obviously, in order to break free from the restriction that made them stand in a row, they spent a lot of energy. Unfortunately, the entrance of these people didn't attract the attention of the 2 people. "Young martial uncle." Mu Yan stared blankly, then slowly saw the man in front of her, and suddenly gasped in shock. She saw that the young man in front of her was wearing wet clothes that tightly stuck to his body, outlining the man's perfect and vigorous lines. Sparkling and translucent water droplets fell from the man's wet hair. Her gaze slid past his tall nose, thin lips, and his sexy Adam's apple. She slid down his drenched shirt and his heaving chest. Everyone present swallowed their saliva. Even though they knew that the person in front of them was awe-inspiring, and as terrible as a devil. But the peerless appearance of the young martial uncle, moreover, it was a painting of a beautiful man coming out of the water, it was too tempting. If it wasn't those rough men from the holy sect, but their young martial uncle coming out of the bath, Ling Yuma wiped the blood from her nose. Ling Yuxing's face was completely red as he covered it with an embroidered handkerchief. The other disciples all turned their faces away and looked at the sky and the earth, but they didn't dare to look at the handsome man in front of them. Only Mu Yan, after seeing the face of the man in front of her, blinks her eyes, and blinks again. Without thinking, he blurted out, "Aw, it's you, the handsome man who was forced into marriage." Luo Yu swallowed her saliva. Sixth senior sister, you've seen junior uncle before. Mu Yan withdrew the 7 absolute sword in her hand and took a step back. She coughed lightly and saluted the handsome man opposite her. Jun Mu Yan greets young martial uncle. The handsome man on the other side, oh, no, it was Luo Yunshao, calmly withdrew his sword. "Are you the new disciple of senior brother?" Maya nods, and she can't help but sneak another glance at Luo Yunshao. It couldn't be helped. Everyone loved beauty. What's more, this young martial uncle was a little too beautiful. Oh, it would be great if he could be painted, it would definitely be a masterpiece. As she was lost in thought, Mu Yan suddenly heard the man opposite her slowly say in a pleasant magnetic voice, "You really like to peep as always." Chapter 1051. What do you mean she likes to peep? Last time was an accident, this time is even more of an accident. She says with a faint smile, young Marshall uncle must be joking. Your heroic deeds have been written and sung. Who in the world doesn't know about it? Do I need to peep? Story? What story? Everyone is curious. Luo Yu's expression changes slightly. She thinks of something and desperately winks at Mu Yan. Unfortunately, Mu Yan doesn't see it. She rummages in her space and pulls out a few books. Those years young Master Yun Shao chased me, the overbearing young Master Yun Shao fell in love with me, the sweet wife of young Master Yun Shao Chong, Walala, the wind blows the grass in the courtyard. Apart from the sound of rustling, there is nothing else. Pft, Lang Yuma can't help but laugh. She quickly covers her mouth and holds it in. The other people of the Xiaoyao sect also blushes, but they don't even dare to show that they want to laugh. Luo Yunshao looks at the books on the ground. His gaze is stagnant for a while. Then he slowly raises his head. In the next moment, Mu Yan saw a gentle and clear smile slowly appear on his peerlessly handsome face. It's over. Young Marshall uncle is angry. Junior sister, quickly kneel down and kowtow to apologize. Young Marshall uncle, calm down. Junior sister didn't do it on purpose. Yes, young Marshall uncle, we only have one junior sister. Mu Yan feels inexplicable. Even if this Luo Yunshao is very powerful and strict, they don't need to be this afraid, right? Then, she sees Luo Yunshao slowly walking towards her. An invisible pressure shrouds Mu Yan in a split second, making her almost unable to breathe. Mu Yan has always had the temperament of a donkey. If you go along with her hair, she'll be able to reason with you. If you threaten and use your power to oppress people, even if you are the Emperor of Heaven, there is no way to make her bow. She sneers. Being shrouded by that pressure, she doesn't lower her head. Instead, she slowly raises her head and looks straight into Luo Yunshao's eyes. The girl's face is pale and her forehead is covered with fine beads of sweat. But that pair of eyes is as bright as the stars in the night sky. The bottom of her peach blossom eyes are like ripples of water, as if the light of the stars and the moon can never be extinguished. Luo Yunshao seems to be stunned. The next moment, big beauty, I finally see you again. A shrill and wretched voice that could pierce through the clouds came whistling over. Before Mu Yan could react, she felt a weight on her body. Something hit her chest, and it was desperately trying to drill into her clothes. Mu Yan's eyes are sharp and her hands are quick. She quickly grabs that hoodlum who wants to take advantage of her and carries it in the air. She saw a strange spirit beast with big eyes, a bulbous nose, and a slender body. It was wagging its tail with all its might and pouting its mouth, as if it wanted to kiss her. Mu Yan's mouth twitches, cheese kiss. Beauty, you still remember me. Ha, I knew you wouldn't forget about me. Quickly come and give me a joss stick, Mua. Before it could move its mouth closer, its neck had already been grabbed by another person. When Siwen opened her eyes, she saw her master's face, which was so beautiful that it could make one cry, but it was also so terrifying that it could make one cry. Chiwen shivered, revealed a flattering smile, and called, Master. Chapter 1052. Bang! Chiwen is directly thrown to the ground by Luo Yunshao. Mu Yan has a faint smile. Young Marshall uncle's spiritual pet is really interesting. I heard that spiritual pets generally resemble their masters. Since the masters have so many romantic affairs, it's not strange for spiritual pets to like beauties. Chiwen raises her flattened little head, and fearlessly continues, oh, big beauty, have you also read those stories about the masters? Are they good to watch? Are they exciting? Some of them were told to the writers after I, Master Chiwen, added oil and vinegar. Mu Yen bursts out laughing. Looking at Luo Yunxiao's expressionless face, but overflowing with murderous aura, she faintly smiles. Then Mu Yen, I wish that young martial uncle's confidence will soon spread all over the world. Hee, you dare to say that this lady likes to peep? Peep your sister. I was sleeping well, but you guys disturbed my sleep with your chatter, and even implicated Jiang Xinyu to vent her anger on me. Now you even dare to say that I like to peep. Screw young martial uncle. Even if it's young martial uncle, I'll still do the same. After saying that, she turns around and leaves, dragging the stunned fourth sister and the others. In the courtyard, after Chiwen finishes speaking, she remembers what she just said. She shakily raises her head, grabs her head with her claws, and stutters, Master, just now, what Chiwen said, you didn't hear it, did you? Luo Yunxiao slowly hooks up the corners of her lips, revealing a clear and gentle smile. What do you think? Oh. Master, spare us all. Outside the courtyard. Ling Yuma and the others are still in a state of shock. Only after walking far away did they wipe the cold sweat on their foreheads. Little sister, you're too powerful, you dare to talk to young martial uncle like that. The eldest brother is so scared that he stutters like the second brother. Little junior sister, you've really eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall to even dare to offend little martial uncle. Mu Yen touches her nose. Is young martial uncle very scary? It's more than scary, it's very, very scary. Ling Yuxing screamed. You idiot. You're dead for sure. What if young martial uncle comes to settle the score with you? Mu Yan is really puzzled this time. It's just junior martial uncle, I don't see you guys being so afraid of master. Are you kidding me? Can master compare to youngest martial uncle? Ling Yuma looks at Mu Yan resentfully. 100 masters tied together are not as scary as a little martial uncle. Chu Moli coughed lightly. He went straight to the point and said, our carefree school doesn't have any income. It's all thanks to little martial uncle that we've managed to survive until today. This time, Mu Yen understood. The god of fortune of the Xiaoyao school, the only source of income. Of course, he couldn't afford to offend him. But the problem was that she had already offended him. What else could she do? He can't kill me in the middle of the night, right? Ling Yuma patted her shoulder. Little junior sister, you better pray for your own good fortune. After saying that, everyone looked at her with sympathy and pity. They shook their heads and turned to leave. Mu Yen. What the hell, making her feel uneasy. Could it be that youngest martial uncle would really take revenge on her? She doesn't know if what Ling Yuma and the others said yesterday was too unbelievable. Mu Yan had a nightmare of being pranked by Luo Yunxiao for a whole night. When she woke up the next day, she still felt listless. She went to Tingguang ruins to take a look and found that there was still no talisman sold. Chapter 1053. As soon as she walks out of the door, Mayan sees her master, Shi Qing, waiting outside. Mayan's heart leaps with joy. She thinks to herself, master is here. Even if little martial uncle gets angry out of humiliation and wants to retaliate, he can't retaliate too excessively, right? Unexpectedly, when Shi Qing sees her, he immediately steps forward and holds her hand. With a solemn expression, he says, Yen, my good disciple, master has to go into seclusion during this time. I don't have time to teach you cultivation. Mayan opens her mouth to say, it doesn't matter if you don't teach me. In any case, she's learning the skills of a Shin musician, and no one else can teach her. Who knew that Shurqing would interrupt what she was about to say, and the next sentence was like a bolt from the blue, striking her in the head. Fortunately, your little martial uncle will be staying in the sect for a long time. Master has already talked to your little martial uncle. These days, your little martial uncle will teach you swordsmanship. Wait a minute. Mayan is so startled that she suddenly raises her voice. Are you kidding me? Shurqing smiles and says, oh, I know that you little girls like Yunxiao's appearance. You must be overjoyed to hear that he's letting you learn swordsmanship from him. Overjoyed your sister. She's scared to death. Master, I don't want to learn swordsmanship from little martial uncle, I can practice by myself. Shurqing looks at her with a clear expression. Little girl, this old man has seen through your thoughts, so I'm sorry. Don't worry, this old man won't laugh at you. Your little martial uncle's swordsmanship and cultivation are very, very powerful, even far higher than Master's. He has always been unwilling to teach people. Even your fellow apprentices have never received his guidance. This time, when Master went to ask him to teach you, I thought he wouldn't agree. I didn't expect that he would readily agree. Yan Yan, my good disciple, you're really lucky. Lucky what? Ah. She's going to be in big trouble. What readily agree? This Luo Yunxiao, absolutely, 100% wants to retaliate against her. Mayan shivers and promptly says, Master, I really don't need anyone to teach me, I can practice swordsmanship by myself. My swordsmanship is very good. Shurqing gives her a blank look and says to himself, what kind of swordsmanship is that? You're just blindly slashing with a sword. What a waste of your powerful talent and strength. Shurqing is about to open his mouth to persuade her, when a magnetic and deep male voice suddenly rings out from behind Mayan. You think that your swordsmanship is very good? Why don't we have a match? Mu Yan suddenly turns around. He saw that Luo Yunxiao was already standing there and looking at him with an indifferent expression. He was wearing a lake blue robe embroidered with cloud patterns and a silver jade belt around his waist, which made him look even taller and more graceful. As for that face, under the morning light, it looked even more like the dawn of spring. His sideburns looked like they were cut by a knife, and he was incomparably handsome. But when Mayan sees this face, she only feels the blue veins on her forehead throbbing with pain. The nightmare from last night seemed to come back to him at this moment. Little martial uncle must be joking. How would I dare to fight you? Luo Yunxiao took a step forward and said with a faint smile, or are you afraid? Are you afraid of losing too badly? Mu Yan was provoked by this and immediately said, let's compete. Damn it, I'm not afraid of you. The result of the competition was naturally Mu Yan's crushing defeat. Even if Luo Yunxiao suppresses his own cultivation to the same level as Mu Yan, first stage abstinence. Chapter 1054. But under Luo Yunxiao's storm-like sword attacks, Mu Yan still has nowhere to escape. In just 10 short rounds, she already has no strength to fight back, and is knocked down to the ground. Luo Yunxiao sheathes her sword and looks down at her. Wait for me here tomorrow at 5 in the morning. Saying that, she turns around and leaves without the slightest hesitation. Mu Yan sits in a daze for a long time before she lets out a long sigh. She has always been arrogant, but arrogance doesn't mean conceit and stupidity. In the fight with Luo Yunxiao just now, she clearly felt the difference between her and Luo Yunxiao. Even if they are both in the first stage of Anidia, even if she uses her domain. However, compared to this man, there is still a world of difference. She still has a long way to go if she wants to become a true powerhouse. Who the hell is that guy? Why is he so annoying? Qi Huang's indignant voice suddenly comes to her ears. Mu Yan comes back to herself and stands up from the ground. She says with a smile, my younger martial uncle, Luo Yunxiao. The most handsome man under the heavens in those stories you threw in. Bah, he's not that good looking. If this sage could go out, he would definitely sweep the world. How could he be worse than him? She hears Qi Huang gnashing his teeth, his voice filled with envy and jealousy. Mu Yan bursts into laughter. Qi Xiaohuang, you're not jealous that younger martial uncle is better looking than you, are you? Jun Mu Yan. Qi Huang stomps his feet in anger. Are you blind? How could that sissy human be better looking than this sage? Good, good, good. We, Qi Huang, are the most handsome and most beautiful in the world, okay? Mu Yan simply laughs until her stomach hurts. She didn't expect Qi Huang to be a tool spirit that cares so much about appearance. But when she first met Di Mingju, she didn't see this guy like to compare beauty with others. Why does he explode when he sees Luo Yunxiao? Is it because they're the same type? Pfft, Qi Xiaohuang actually has the nerve to say that Luo Yunxiao is a sissy. Wasn't he even more beautiful than Luo Yunxiao? Wasn't he more androgynous? The next day, at 5 a.m, Mu Yan arrives at the place where she suffered a crushing defeat against Luo Yunxiao yesterday. However, the surroundings were empty, not even a shadow of a person could be seen. Mu Yan stands there quietly, neither leaving nor looking for him. About a quarter of an hour later, a clear and pleasant male voice rang out in the pitch-black night sky. Your willpower is pretty good. Mu Yan smiles faintly. If I want to learn the sword from junior martial uncle, I naturally have this bit of determination. As soon as she finished speaking, something flashed before her eyes. An ethereal figure had already appeared in the morning mist. The starless and moonless dawn was so dim and muddy. However, when this white-robed man appeared, everything in the world seemed to have been cleansed. Just looking at that figure made him feel like he was in a dream, unable to break free. But the bottom of Mayan's eyes are clear, there's no surprise, no infatuation. His eyes were filled with determination as he looked at the person who was slowly approaching him. The determination to become stronger. The corners of Luo Yunxiao's mouth curled up slightly as she looked at the girl. I thought you didn't want to learn the sword from me. Mu Yan touches her nose, speaking very calmly. That's because I was afraid that junior martial uncle would retaliate against me. But now that I've discovered that you have genuine talent, even if I get retaliated against, it's worth it, oh. Chapter 1055. Or else she's afraid of him like a mouse is afraid of a cat. He has never seen someone like Mayan. She peeps at him calmly, rebukes him calmly, and now she says that she's afraid of his revenge and wants to learn swordsmanship from him. Luo Yunxiao takes a deep look at the girl in front of him. It's as if at this moment, he just realized that this girl's appearance is so peerless. She's not the least bit inferior to him. However, people who get close to Mayan are often attracted by her unique aura, and then notice that pair of seductive and clear peach blossom eyes. On the contrary, her devastatingly beautiful face was often overlooked by others. Luo Yunxiao takes a step back, raises his hand, and a round iron plate is thrown on the ground. Mayan blinks, her face full of doubt. What's this? As soon as this thought flashes through her mind, she sees Luo Yunxiao throw a stone in the direction of the iron plate. The stone whistles and flies out. However, before the stone can get within 5 meters of the iron plate, it suddenly shines, overflowing with murderous intent. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, the stone is crushed into powder, not even dregs are left. Mayan swallows. This is a sword array. Luo Yunxiao looks at her in surprise. You're quite knowledgeable. After a pause, he continues, this sword array only covers a radius of 5 meters. Once you enter the sword array, you won't be able to come out until the spiritual power of the plate is exhausted. Even if these sword auras chop you into minced meat, I won't let you out. Mayan swallows again, her face a little pale. Just now, when the stone was thrown, she clearly saw it. There are at least 30 sword auras in the sword array. Within a small radius of 5 meters, there was almost no space for her to move or dodge in the face of 30 powerful sword chis. Luo Yunxiao looks at her mockingly, afraid. Young martial uncle wants me to be afraid. Mayan looks at Luo Yunxiao, the corner of her mouth slowly hooks up into a stubborn sneer. If this is young martial uncle's way of revenge, I have to say that you found the right way. In Mayan's dictionary, the word afraid has never existed. After saying that, she doesn't look at Luo Yunxiao again, and strides into the sword array. Luo Yunxiao was stunned. He thought that the girl would beg for mercy. At the very least, they would ask him to reduce his sword chi by 10. Based on the battle between Luo Yunxiao and Mu Yan yesterday, he knew that 20 sword chi should be Mu Yan's limit. Unexpectedly, Mu Yan did not even bargain and directly entered the sword formation. What a stubborn little girl. However, with the cultivation of the first level of Anidia, could the little girl really come out alive after entering the blood slaughter sword formation, that even a golden core stage expert could not withstand? Luo Yunxiao raised her eyebrows and waved her hand. A table and a chair appeared behind her. On the table was a fragrant spirit wine and a lustrous and translucent zither. Looking at the sword formation that was filled with sword light and murderous aura, as well as the young girl shuttling through the sword chi, Luo Yunxiao poured a cup full of spirit wine and drained it. Then, she reached out and lightly plucked the strings of her zither. The morning light came out from the east and shone on the land behind the mountain of the Xiaoyao school. Amidst the lush mountains and clear waters, there was a white-robed man with an unparalleled elegance and grace, playing the zither with his bare hands. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.